PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5.
Hello. That was pretty prosaic. Hello.
Like,
howdy. Hello.
Hello, good madam.
Hello, good sir. That wasn't quite right either.
Oh, we got.
I don't know.
Hello, Sir David Glynn.
Hello.
So we're doing kind of like our
hello,
monarch of the Glen type deal.
I love it, Sir Glenn of the Gales.
Sir Glenn, we welcome you. Hello there.
Hello.
And wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Anyone listening to us will think, "What in the heck did I just come upon?"
What? Yeah. What was I? I didn't sign up for this.
This is just Christmas cheer because people may not know, but in the traditional church for 1,000, 2,000 years, Christmas goes for 12 days. Yesterday was just the first day of Christmas. This is the second day of Christmas. It's still Christmas.
That's right. And if you guys want to check out, we did go into our Christmas playlist, and you will see a bunch of nice little Christmas. We did a reading of O. Henry, and we did also so it was like we did O. Henry, Gift of the Magi, and we also did Saint Nicholas, and it was great. We had a good time, so check it out. If Christmas playlist, if you need some more Christmas cheer for all to hear.
And we expect to do one on the 12 days of Christmas so that we can remind everyone about the actual celebration of this great feast. It's been shortened to one day, but in fact, it's a 12-day celebration at minimum. It goes into the Feast of the Three Kings, which is when we celebrate when the gift of the Magi, when they came, which is funny. This is the name of the short story by the famous short story writer O. Henry that we read. Thank you, Sir Glenn, for telling people to watch our Christmas special. And I'm happy to know that his real name is David Rex Glenn, which means in 3 different languages, beloved king of the valley. That is fantastic. Plus, David was a king in the Bible. That's fabulous. True. He's king. So yes. I don't know. Maybe it's not Sir Glenn. Maybe it's King Glenn.
King.
Rex.
King David Glenn.
Rex Glenn. We'll play with that.
Rexus Maximus Glenn.
Well, he's just hiding out in the U.S. right now, so we'll keep his cover.
Well, yeah, we got to keep. Sorry,
we'll just say sir.
We didn't mean to, like, there's definitely a Hallmark movie in the making here, right?
Definitely. So yeah, please check us out. Please check out our videos on the Christmas, and we'll keep the Christmas party going. You know what? It's so nice for it to be more than one day because the best celebrations are, and it makes it less depressing when you think, oh, the day after. No, it's still Christmas. If you're like me and you haven't gotten your Christmas cards out, this is what I tell people at the car. It's still Christmas. And people are like, they're trying to call, like, balderdash on me. Hey, you know what? It's real. It really is Christmas. And as we have mentioned before, we have some Filipino friends, and I have been told, in fact, our church actually had a celebration that the Filipinos put together. You remember that, Fletcher?
Yes.
And they said that in the Philippines, they go all out. Christmas goes forever. They go past the Three Kings. They keep going. There's still Christmas trees up. There's still Christmas parties. They're still eating pies. I don't know how we would do that, but
something about Mang Sangabit or something like that.
Yeah, they really celebrate Christmas is not just a day. I mean, most celebrations in the ancient world would go more than one day. In fact, weddings used to go for days at a time.
Oh yeah,
there's still some if you ever been to an Indian wedding, which I've been fortunate enough to do, they have their wedding is over the course of like a week. I mean, that's still today. Like even modern people, like they'll have one day of this event and that event. You have to come to like at least 2 or 3 days. And it's like every day it's something. You don't just celebrate one day. So happy Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. We're still celebrating. Speaking of which, we have something about Christmas.
That is true.
I was really impressed by this, Fletch.
Yeah, it was
Super
something that
impressed.
kind of took us by surprise. Not by surprise completely, but it was I guess part of it was we haven't heard a president elect, talk about Christmas with such fervor, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what we heard on this. So I think there might be music in this, but just we'll play a little bit. So
it's my tremendous honor to finally wish America and the world a very Merry Christmas. For Christians, this is a holy season, the celebration of the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. More than 2,000 years ago, the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary. He said, "Do not be afraid. You have found favor with God." The angel told her that she would give birth to a baby boy, Jesus, who would be called the Son of the Most High. 9 months later, Christ was born in the town of Bethlehem. The Son of God came into the world in a humble stable. Whatever our beliefs, we know that the birth of Jesus Christ and the story of this incredible life forever changed the course of human history.
I mean, how powerful is that, right? I mean, it goes on.
I'm sorry. I have never seen anything like this from any of the presidents. I mean, we were not alive during the time of John F. Kennedy, not senior, the first Catholic president, but I can't imagine anyone has given a more robust, unapologetically Christian message from the White House. That's amazing.
No, it's completely amazing, and we just, I guess we're a little bit flabbergasted and shocked because it looks like we're gonna be eating good, as some of my cousins say. We eating good right now, and it just we're like pacing ourselves in a little bit because
I think to break down what you're saying is that we're going to be excited about this presidency coming, right? I mean, that you mean by eating good, like it's going to be a nice time,
right?
Gotcha. Like more winning,
and it's just that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this was fabulous. Actually, I have to give him credit. I'm not a Republican, as I like to say, but I, definitely believe he was a better choice, especially after Kamala made the comment about, "Oh, Jesus, you're at the wrong rally." Really did not like that, as I've said on here before. And so the fact that he took the bull by the horn, so to speak, and at a Christmas message, went and didn't do the happy holidays thing. Because Fletcher, I was really disappointed the other day too, because I play one of my games. I have different mobile games. Fletcher has I Suck at Games channel. Ursula does not suck at games, but doesn't do like the big boy games. And one of them on Christmas Day said, "We wish you, I kid you not, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah." Right. And then at the end, like, and Merry Christmas. But wait a minute. He did it on the day of Christmas Day. Kwanzaa doesn't even start till today for the very few people who celebrate it.
So wait a minute. You basically had this reaction, is what you're saying?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Right?
We need to stop you from that. But yeah, something ain't right. It's like, you know what? We were talking about how these Christmas markets in Europe or in England are being said, "Oh, they're winter markets," but they're not winter markets. They have been around for hundreds of years, if not a couple thousand years, commemorating the birth of Christ. They're Christmas markets. That's why they're open during this time. And so the fact that he didn't shrink from it, because somehow just celebrating Christmas is offensive to people, I'm impressed. And he made it not about just candy canes and snowmen. He says it's the birth of Christ who changed the course of history forever, which is 100% true. So good on Trump for this. I'm sorry, good on Trump's, and
No.
Sir Glenn says Biden doesn't talk about Christmas because he was the Roman guard cursed to walk the earth forever. I'm not familiar with that legend. I don't know if you know it.
Oh
Fletcher,
my gosh.
but I will say this. He's supposedly Catholic, and I've never heard him give an address like this, Biden.
Yeah.
And yet President Trump, elect Trump, who is not Catholic, made this kind of comment.
Now I like this. Now we're creating a whole different, kind of like, mythos out there or stuff. But Biden is the cursed card. That's why he's all right. Never mind. Yeah, this could go the right and the wrong way.
Maybe there's something.
Well, you were talking
wrong with
about
that guy. Yeah,
we were talking about this, and we didn't like touch on it, but since you touched on it, I thought it would be cool to show it because we kind of talked about this. So this was in a Christmas market in London, where now the people are not allowed to say Christmas market. So the stalls that were in a Christmas market in London were told they only can say winter market. So this was kind of like a thing on that.
So we've just come down to what is described as London's biggest Christmas market. The only problem is they've called it, if you follow me, they've called it a winter come together. So my challenge now, anywhere in this market that says the word Christmas, maybe the word Jesus, any indication that this is indeed a religious holiday in the UK. We've got winter warmers.
As you see, this has become like a thing. He's literally hunting for somebody to say Merry Christmas or anything that has to do with Jesus, anything that has to do with it. And the funny thing is, he's literally going around. There's some music on it, so I'll be the thing. So like he's going around, he's trying to find the thing, and this gentleman tells them that he's not allowed to say it. So they were told not to say it.
Something to do with religion. They can't say Christmas, but
so they can't say Christmas. They say it has nothing to do. It can't be anything that has to do with religion. Can you believe that?
I cannot believe that, Fletcher, because for, I don't know, the entire inception of England as a modern civilization is due to their Christianity. I mean, that's what helped them to stand out above everyone else. It's what turned them from being, marauding pagans into having something resembling, some culture and civilization. I mean, look at their music, their art, everything. It's Christian. Go to any of the museums. What are the earliest paintings? What are these structures? They were Christian. So the idea that like this holiday is somehow offensive, that's outrageous. And yet you still want to make money from it. It's outrageous. Right. This is, it's like you're canceling Christians in the public square. We're not allowed to celebrate our faith. And you don't even have to celebrate it from a religious point of view, but you should call it what its name is. It reminds me when Target was doing this. They said, oh, yeah. I went into Target and there was no word Christmas. They had literally said holiday trees. And I was like, I will never, ever buy anything from you. And I didn't go to Target for years after that because these are not called holiday trees. What's a holiday tree? Please tell me the genesis of that. Please find one for me and tell me what the first one was. Because I can tell you when the first Christmas tree was and the celebration of Christmas trees, how they came about apparently from a German Christian tradition to highlight the evergreen nature of Christ's love that, it never dies. So, and people would celebrate and sing, "Oh, Christmas Tree," which is a religious song. So I would like to know what the holiday tree is. And the same thing here. So you're actually calling it a winter market. That has no relevance because if it is a winter market, when do you do it? At the first sign of winter? Or do you do it? Why not in February then? Why is it somehow happening, I don't know, in the fourth week of December? Because it's a Christmas market.
And the first winter market my true love gave to me. I'm not gonna. But they did find one person. Sir Glenn says up until the 1980s, the UK had a Christian blasphemy law. Monty Python Life of Brian almost got slapped. Yeah, that was a bit racy, you know. Yeah, Monty Pythons, they make fun of everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, it tells you what a different world, how it changed so quickly.
How did
Just
it
a
change?
generation ago, you could not use the Lord's name in vain. You could not make fun of Christian, religion or blaspheme. And now we're at the point you can't even say the word Christmas because it has the word Christ in it. That's what that's about.
Yeah, no, completely. They did find one guy.
Market.
Okay,
this is the first sign of Christmas I've seen in this market. Oh, good man, look at that. He's in the spirit. So what have you got here? You've got mulled gin. It is from the winter market, not Christmas. Oh, that's good. That's good. That gets me in the festive mood.
I mean, he found one guy, walks around all the time. He was asking people, and he found only one person who was able to say that it's a Christmas, it's Christmas. It's like
and
the only
wearing, some traditional Christmas gear, like
oh yeah, right,
a Christmas sweater and a Santa hat. And it's so funny. You're right, Sir Glenn. We have a Muslim guy, apparently Muslim guy, who has the Christmas sweater. That's crazy. They're gonna lose their whole culture.
Yeah, and I think it's we do have swarthy brothers and sisters. It's probably like a Syrian or Chaldean or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he could be a Christian guy.
Swarthy. Yeah, no, but I mean, imagine all this where you have something like this, so you're like, what? It's just sort of silly, but yeah, I mean,
it's so silly, but you know what? It's also grotesque.
It is grotesque, and it is. I mean, they should know better. I mean, so many things has happened in the UK. So many things that we know about that happened for Christianity in the UK. That to have something like this happen, it's a bit of a blasphemy.
What I'd like to know, and I know we have to move on from this, but what I'd like to know is if there were, speaking of Muslims, a Muslim market, they say for the end of Ramadan or Eid, are they going to call it, depending on what time of year, because Ramadan does move based on, it's not on a date, it's based on other factors as to when it happens. Are they going to call it like Last Moon Festival? Will they say you can't say Ramadan, you can't say Eid? Will they say like, oh, happy summer festival when it happens in the summer? I doubt that.
Right? That's yeah. that's the spicy part, right? That's the spicy part where we're like, no, I mean, it's true, because you're like, basically you're saying that in a London Christmas market, you won't call it winter market. Is the same thing that we were talking about last time. If there's something that's Eid, if you have like an Eid celebration, if you have a Ramadan celebration, if you have
it's a Hanukkah one, if it's a Buddhist one,
if it's a Buddhist one,
I'm sure it's going to be called those things.
Correct. And we're the only ones that have to be erased, right?
Yeah.
But like I said,
if it's Diwali, I'm sure they'll be like, oh, come to the Diwali festival market. Yeah, you just can't say Christmas.
Can't say Christmas.
These people are outrageous. They need to be stopped.
But I did want to share this also.
Please share this.
Saint Mary Joseph, she's a nun that I follow on X, and she has some great takes. She's hilarious. But she was sharing this with people because a lot of people might not know the phrase Merry Christmas, the English phrase Merry Christmas. We're not talking about the Latin, the Vulgate, or anything like that. We're talking about how people started saying like just Merry Christmas was first recorded in 1534 in a letter from imprisoned Bishop John Fisher to Thomas Cromwell, where Fisher wished Cromwell a Merry Christmas. Bishop Fisher later canonized as Saint Pope Pius, the 9th, right? On May 11th. 11th. Yeah, so it's before stuff. Yeah, you got me, Roman numerals. See, dyslexia and Roman numerals don't work. May 19, 1935, for his martyrdom during the English Reformation, contributed to the historical significance of this greatly initiate. Merry implied a rowdier celebration, which is why Happy Christmas was favored by upper classes in England. However, Merry Christmas gained widespread acceptance, partly thanks to its frequent use in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol in 1843, embedded in firmly into festive tradition. So how interesting is that So basically, we have Charles Dickens to thanks for Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all.
Can you believe that?
Know?
That is so interesting.
And,
he's responsible for so much good literature. And yet now we know he's also somewhat responsible for the use of the phrase Merry Christmas, because we know most Americans don't use the word merry very much for things anyway, except for Christmas. Right. We say happy a lot, but to our ears, Happy Christmas sounds strange. But I do know a lot of British people who say Happy Christmas. So I didn't realize that that was standard until the time of the 19th century when, when Charles Dickens made it more popular. That's really interesting because Bishop John Fisher was, I believe, martyred, as it says here, yes, for his martyrdom during the English Reformation. He held firm. He was, I think, a contemporary of St. Thomas More, who was also martyred around the same time. I believe they were that way. It's funny, the way that it's written there is Mary, M-E-R-Y, Christmas. And that brings up a really interesting point that obviously, as we said before, Christmas is Christ. Now, some have said it means Christ's Mass, the Mass for Christ. So like the Catholic Mass. Some say Mass means like time, like the kind of like Christmas tide. So it's funny that Sir Glenn's asking this question. So does the Mass in Christmas mean more like it does in Spanish? I don't know. I think I've heard it. It'd be interesting to look at that etymology. We might do it, Fletcher, for one of our
we
upcoming
might look at the word
Christmas, because we're celebrating Christmas all 12 days. We might look and see what the etymology of that is, because I think it means, I think Mass might mean the word time. I'm not positive about that. Like it means like the time of Christ. I think is what it means, honestly. So but we'll check on that for you.
Yeah,
all. Anyone who knows, please tell us. We're happy to follow up on that. So
no, and that goes to more of this, which is that we are basically in a time the Christmas is not over. It's not a time to stop your Christmas joy, because Christmas feasts and festivities extend beyond December 25th. Surprise, surprise.
More fun.
More fun to be
like
had.
More fun to be had. And so this article, which by the way will be our charity for this month, we like to have some encouragement for people to give for people who need it. We had last time the poor woman who's in prison. Please remember to keep praying for her, Bevelyn Williams. And she's no relation to us, but she in fact is in prison for championing the cause of the unborn and for praying outside of one of the sacrifices to Moloch centers. And so we said, please give to her. And now we're going to say, please give to LifeSite magazine. LifeSite is an online newspaper / magazine. I feel like it's more of a magazine than a newspaper, but I think they call themselves LifeSite News. They do have stories that are kind of newsworthy, but to me, it reads a bit more like a periodical that's more like a magazine. But they do champion the cause of the unborn. They are big pro-life people. They give a lot of time and attention to Catholic news, but not just Catholic news. All kinds of news involving issues of the day, the culture wars, and especially if it has anything to do with life. And so they're offering you this idea of some feasts and festivities. As we started, there are fun things you can do. Remember the Epiphany. A lot of people have different traditions. Like I understand some will put in their homes where their kids like a little nativity scene and then have the wise men be in another room and then have them day by day over the course of the 12 days before they get there to meet the baby Jesus with their gold, frankincense, and myrrh, finally get there. Like, move it a little bit each day.
Right.
And that's really pretty cool.
Latin American countries, we actually, we are waiting for the Three Kings to come before we do anything, because for the kids, especially if you're poor, the Day of the Three Kings is better because, usually in Christmas we get one gift. It's not like the United States where you get like everybody gets your gifts. You usually just get one gift. And the Day of the Three Kings, if you leave your shoes outside with some hay and water for the animals of the three kings, you would get like a little gift on each of the shoes. So that's
a
little
very cute
inside baseball
tradition.
there.
That's a little inside baseball, but I actually have heard of that, Fletcher. And in fact, if anyone is interested in, say, the life of Saint Therese, she's one of the newer saints of the church, very interesting woman. I'm sure you've heard about her, Saint Therese of Lisieux. Sometimes they say Saint Therese of the child Jesus, because she had a very close relationship, mystical, with the baby Jesus, that she saw the infant child in her meditations, and she would talk to him. And she actually talked about that tradition, like and she's from France, but she says they would have a shoe with presents. And in fact, a very big moment in her life was, unfortunately, her mom had passed away very young. Actually, her mom and her dad are both canonized saints in the church. And she's the baby, and they forgot. I mean, usually something mom might do, right? And they forgot to put the little present inside the shoe, and she lost it, apparently, had a complete meltdown. And I guess they were just like over it. Like, there was like 5 children. She's the baby. The dad was by himself. And they're like, you know what, Therese, just go to your room. We can't with you. And she was so hurt, but she said that the Blessed Mother said to her, she had a statue in her room of the Blessed Mother, and it didn't really come to life or anything, but she felt like Mary was talking to her, like, you know what, I know you lost your mom, and it's rough. They're doing the best they can. I'll be your mom. And she said at that moment, it was like she didn't have a problem again, because it was like, I always feel like Mary is my mother too. So it was just really cool. Anyway, I love that tradition. I think it's great. Like what Mr. Punkwaddle says here, Advent is leading up to Christmas, but that's not very commercialized. I think that's a great point. Advent is something I feel we need to rediscover in the church. And I see that Sir Glenn said he just recently learned of it watching UK panel shows. It's true. I didn't grow up with a lot of Advent also, but Advent is really, really nice. It's the period in which, while everyone is celebrating Christmas, and therefore they're so upset with all the Christmas music and they're so tired, December 26th. The rest of us who've been doing Advent, which is basically, Advent means coming. It means like the arrival, right? And so the idea is you're waiting for Jesus to be born. And so those times with your kids, and with yourself, you're praying special prayers. That the church has so many wonderful traditions. Like you have a wreath that you light a candle each week, the 4 weeks before Christmas. You do certain things so that when Christmas starts, you're excited for it, because honestly, traditional Catholics didn't even decorate their homes. I know I did. When I found out this tradition, I started doing it. People thought you were so strange, but Fletcher, it really works. Like the night before Christmas is when traditional Catholics will decorate their home and go crazy. And so their neighbors are like, what's going on? All this month, we thought you weren't celebrating. It's like, no, we're just starting now.
Yeah,
and so we're excited. We're super excited. That's why we're still excited today. And
because everybody's really like, Merry Christmas. It's like, what do you mean the Christmas? It's like, yeah, it's Christmas already. It's like a festival going on now.
And I think, what, Mr. Punkwaddle is right. A lot of denominations just dabble in it, or some don't do it. I think we should all get back into it, because it really does help you to make it this holiday season a little less commercial, because you're spending time. I know what one of my friends with her kids, what she will do is she has all these little Advent traditions. There's something called like an Advent calendar. You can find those sometimes in stores. You probably don't know what they are, but I think the kids are like each day open up one day of the calendar that has some kind of suggestion. Like usually, do something nice for someone today, or pray for, your grandparents, or, call, this person. Little things that help you to really prepare for the idea of Christ's birth, that you're here to spread joy and peace to people. And she also had something like, she did this really cool thing, Fletcher. I don't know if you remember my friend, Kat, but what she does is she buys a little bit of straw, again, for a nativity scene. She won't put the baby Jesus there because he hasn't come yet. They just have the other figures, not the wise men who are in another room. They're going to arrive on the Feast of Epiphany. And the kids, every time they do something good without being told, they finish their vegetables, they clean their room, they were nice to their brother or sister, they helped, this child to, get dressed or do their homework, whatever. She has several children. She they will take a little piece of straw and put it in the manger. It's like they're saying, look, their goodness to other people actually makes a nice, comfortable place for the baby Jesus to lay. So they're really trying hard to do a lot of good things leading up to Christmas, so that when they put the baby in the manger on Christmas Eve, right, or Christmas morning, he has enough straw to like rest comfortably. Isn't that a nice tradition? Apparently she didn't make it up. A lot of people have done that one. Oh, I love it. Hi, Lady Jen. Lady Jen. Advent is kind of like a baby shower for Jesus. It's true. It's true.
Right.
It's true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a big day.
Oh, yeah.
And so is New Year's. Yeah, New Year's is the feast of Our Lady. So, we have this big feast that day too. We'll definitely try to talk about that because, since I was little, New Year's Eve was spent in church. It's like that was the tradition. I didn't know about like going out and party till I was like in college. We always went to church on New Year's Eve, and it's a big, big day in the church as well. So yeah, and I thank you, Mr. Punkwaddle, for talking to us about it, being raised Protestant. We have a lot of Protestants in our family, so we're really happy to have you here and that you're interested in our background. So hopefully, you know what, Fletcher, during this time, maybe some of these feasts and festivities we can cover.
Yeah,
as they come along. There are like Lady Jen mentioned, there are different ones, especially coming up on the first day, Our Lady's feast and other ones on the way. Yeah.
So basically, just to give you a rundown, if you're not familiar with it, so today is we talk about Saint Stephen. And we put poinsettias because it's a symbol of leading up. And so the Feast of St. Stephen's.
Remind them of who St. Stephen is, by the way, for those who don't know, because this is one everyone will pretty much know if you've read the Bible.
Right. So basically today we feel that it's, we say today being the Feast of St. Stephen is one of the first martyrs of Christianity, according to the Acts of the Apostle, which was one of the first martyrs that we have. He was one of the first deacons, and he was said to be. It's one of those where he was a gentle person who basically did what he was told, and he was not seen as much, but we gave him great glory. And
it's so great in the book of Acts. It's really worth reading again if you haven't for a while. That's a great thing to do during this Christmas season, which again is ongoing. Saint Stephen was stoned to death for proclaiming Christ, actually ordered by Saint Paul. It's in the book of Acts in the Bible.
Acts 6:1 through 5.
And thank you, Fletcher, if you want to read it. And he actually forgave his murderers. As he was being stoned, he said, as Jesus said on the cross, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And it says like heaven opened up for Stephen, like right then and there, like God is looking down like on this great action.
Right.
So he's believed to be the first martyr. He probably was. The Christian church had just been constituted, basically. So yes, thanks, Sir Glenn.
And so before hold on,
Sir Glenn's comment. Yeah.
Okay.
About the baby shower before we move on from Advent.
Yes. Gosh.
You don't know about that probably, Fletcher, because you haven't attended the actual baby showers, but there's usually some time in which guests eat baby food. So I don't know how Sir Glenn got to see these, but I guess that's the news.
I guess one thing that I always loved about the story of Saint Stephen is because it does mention, because it says that the heavens open up and it said the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. And to me, that blew me away, because all the time we hear of God, the Son of God sitting, the Son of God sitting, the Son of God sitting. But this way it says the Son of Man standing in the right hand of God. And that was like, oh man. So it was almost like, I remember my brother preaching this and saying like, Stephen, was so cold of what he did, the mercy that he showed, that it gave that Jesus gave him a standing ovation. And I was like, whoa, I didn't see that. But that was always like something that I really enjoyed, because I was like, it is true. Jesus gave you a standing ovation. That's what's so cool about today. And that's why I think we should honor St. Stephen today, because you too can give God a standing of, God can also give you a standing ovation if you love and serve him. And I just thought that was amazing. But going on, so we do have the 27th. Is the day of St. John, is the beloved feast day. And many families, what they have is they have wine blessed by the priest, and then they toast to St. John. And that's a very lovely custom that we have. On the 28th is the Feast of the Holy Innocents. And it's a day we remember the poor innocent souls that stood in the place of Christ, that was killed by King Herod, evil decree, because a lot of people like to talk about, the traveling, but we have to also remember that a lot of children, innocent children, when they were trying to find Jesus, were murdered at that time. December 20 is the Feast of St. Thomas Becket. It's one of our favorite martyrs for Catholic nations. And I think, we'll talk about each one. We'll just go real quick through it, because December 31st is the day of San Silvestri, and maybe we should do like each day we'll put something up. But January 1st, then we have a holy day of obligation for us Catholics, which is the feast of the circumcision, where the church reminds us that our first time our Lord shed blood for us. So it's just a quick rundown of the things that we still have to celebrate.
Amen. And I like how Lady Jen says it. Yeah, it's like Jesus was standing and welcoming. It's a standing ovation and also welcoming St. Stephen home. That's great.
Yeah. No, it's.
Thank you so much, Fletcher, for covering that. We will go over that. Hopefully, that would be something we can bring to you all.
Yeah. So because we do have a lot of myrrh and a lot of celebrations come, and then there's also everybody's individual country's take on it, which is it varies completely, but it's kind of awesome because everybody has like their little take on it. We do take for granted, I think, sometimes that our Christian tradition is shared by so many people all around the world. We have brothers and sisters of every color, creed, and it's awesome to see how they celebrate it.
Yeah, definitely. It's really neat, and it's just I just think it's great that we discuss how we can really capitalize on those things. Okay, so that's right. Here we go.
Yeah, we wanted to touch on this because this was, it was a little bit, we really were looking forward to this whole DOGE thing.
Are they calling it DOGE or DOGE, Fletcher?
I don't know.
I think it's DOGE.
I call it DOGE because I guess I just think of Dodge and things, but I'm not talking about the car brand. So it could be Dodge, right. Douche. It's like the German. I heard it both ways, the right way and then mine.
And I think it's an acronym, right? It stands for Department of Government Expenditures or Government Excess.
Yeah. I believe that's what it is.
Oh, no, here it is.
Department Efficiency.
Of Government
Department
Efficiency.
of Government Efficiency.
There you go. Department of Government Efficiency, which is the new kind of agency that apparently President-elect Trump is kind of spearheading. And
there was a lot of people involved in this.
That's right. But Senator Rand Paul has been doing his own version of this, at least with the report. I don't know if he does anything to change the situation, but he has his annual Festivus report. Festivus meaning like the festival time, which is interesting. Isn't that from Seinfeld? Where it says Festivus for the rest of us?
Festivus for the rest of us.
Right. For those who
well,
don't
you have to
celebrate
tell me about that one
Christmas.
because I've never did Seinfeld that much, but I do hear a lot of friends of it, talk about it. But this is kind of going because the national debt has blown past 36 trillion, which is
Wow.
shocking to me because nobody really talks about the debt. We're all talking about, oh, we just giving 60 billion here and 1 trillion here and this and the next, but I'm like, guys, we're kind of like in debt, But so part of this was. On Monday, Senator Rand Paul released a latest edition of his annual Festivus report, pitching in this year as being not just persecutor for the incoming Department of Government Efficiency, but also a useful guide for anyone looking to cut down on federal spending. In the 2024 report, highlights more than 1 trillion of government waste, including Florida man stealing 8 million in, the unknown virus of unknown origins, relief funds, and using the money to buy an island and more. Ice skating drag queens, 12 million Las Vegas pickleball complex, over 4 million in Ukrainian influencers. That's a thing. All right. No, I'm sorry. So the pickleball complex is 4 million. The Ukrainian influence were 32 million. Let's not get trade for breakdancing.
No. So let's see. It's 12 million for the Las Vegas pickleball complex because that town has nothing fun to do. They really need that.
Absolutely nothing to do at night.
4.8 million for influencers from Ukraine, to $32,000 for breakdancing. Because that needs to be subsidized. It's extremely important.
Can we give some of that money to that Australian lady who breakdanced? Because she needs some classes. But
you might have to show us that. I have no idea what you're talking about.
The internet knows and never forgets.
The internet knows. There you go.
And the U.S. Navy being set to waste almost. All right, hold up. 90 billion in ineffective Navy vessels. You would think how many years has the Navy been around? You would think that they would actually, talk about Navy vessels and, know how to float a boat. So, but
you would think.
So.
And it goes on. There's $288,000 to ensure that bird watching groups have safe spaces.
Yes.
Also known as affinity groups. There was an allocation of $330,000 to fund censorship of certain media. $419,000 to determine, check this out, if lonely rats seek cocaine more than happy rats do. And I mean, inquiring minds do want to know.
Right. Which way did the rats go?
$15 billion to make sure Americans will choose electric vehicles that they don't want, and so forth. Yeah.
And the trillions keep on trilling. So this looks like there seems to be no end in sight in some of this, and I would like to hear from you, Ursula, and from everybody in the chat. What do you guys think about this?
Well, to take up what some of our chatters have been saying, I mean, yes, it's like we don't anymore think of the debt as being any kind of problem. Like it's like a wild family with no budgeting. It's like it's just a suggestion. A debt ceiling doesn't mean, there's always more money from us to keep going. And we have stopped being outraged about it. Like Sir Glenn said, back in the 80s, news organizations would freak out when there was just a few billion. But now, now it's much higher. We keep moving that ceiling up. It's true, Mr. Punkwado. We can keep moving the ceiling up. It's true that it's not that all of these things don't have some use. I mean, even the lonely rats, that does have some social indications. I'm not sure I really care if they have more cocaine. I mean, cocaine's bad, right? So like,
not back in the days when it was used on actual Coca-Cola.
I mean, so like you know what? These are not priority things. This is like your family that's kind of, broke. spending money on like a Disney vacation. Like, it's not a bad thing, but like, I don't know, pay the rent first, like pay the things that, you know, get the kids healthy meals, don't have them begging and then go to Disney. That seems like what this is. We have, you know, real problems that need solving. So a lot of these things do feel wasteful, especially like the birds and the breakdancing. I mean, I'm sure there's some social utility to that, but it's probably not the highest use of our money and time. And it is our money, right? I mean, the government does. Someone said this really one time, and it was really helpful to hear Fletcher said, you know, the government actually has no money. The only money the government has is your money. So they're reaching into your pocket. They don't have their own money for the most part. They're not really making money.
No, right. Like, you know, Lady Jen says, you know, it's merely a suggestion, you know. It's our tax dollars at work. It's our tax dollars. It's like you're taking out of our money because back in the days, you know, we didn't even pay for this stuff, you know. It was all like, you know, we were outraged. Didn't we like do like a little bit of throwing tea in the bay for just like a you know, pennies on the dollar? And now we're like, I mean, 36 trillion, son.
Oh my gosh, the early patriots would be rioting already. I mean, they lost it over like a little bit of tax on tea, let alone how much we pay. They would be done. They'd be shooting already.
Yeah, it would have been done, son. It's not even a thing. Productions on.
So it might be interesting. I know that I don't know if we're going to do a story on this, Fletcher, but you know, President-elect Trump has talked about reforming taxes actually and doing maybe a straight tariff, doing some kind of flat tax. I mean, I don't know how realistic that is. Maybe we'll talk about that next time. But at least he's acknowledging
about it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll wait.
Yeah. So I think we did. So let me pull that up. But before I do, I did want to talk about that because it seems like we do have a unusual take on this that I wanted to get your vibe on it, because it looks like Martina Navratilova, you know, great sports lady, has been talking about this because it seems that there was a vote on, you know, the Associated Press had the best female athletes in the world for this year. And I think we know this person who got voted in third place. What
this is a domestic abuser. Not domestic abuser because it was in a ring. You might remember this individual from the Olympics. This individual beat up an Italian woman and claimed to be female. And I love how Sir Glenn said that dude's gait is more manly than mine. It's true. The minute you look at that picture, you know that is a dude. That dude's gait is more manly than mine. Okay, that wins the internet tonight, Sir Glenn. Thank you. That's hilarious. I mean, look at that picture. That tells you everything. But you know what? We know everything because as you and I covered, Fletcher, this individual was found to have XY chromosomes, and then it went further. This person has a micro organ. I'm not going to say the P word. It's been found. It came out after the Olympics that this individual who already had failed gender tests, actually it came out that not only is this person XY, what people were saying was, okay, they're XY, but they don't have the male genitalia, which doesn't really matter. But in fact, the person does. This individual does have male genitalia. So, and now just one of the best female athletes of the year. Thanks.
Yeah, let's sink that in, because you're not. I mean, it's not that they came like, you know, like so long behind, right? It's that you're literally third place. And how many times have we seen this kind of stuff where you know, women kind of get left behind? I mean, I think my understanding is that it was Caitlin Clark, I guess, won
He's very cute and looks like a woman, and is one.
What? And
an exciting basketball player.
Yeah, so I mean, you have her. She was named the AP Athlete of the Year of 2024. Second place, I believe, went to Simone Biles, right? But
she's great.
She was great. I mean, Olympic winner, right? Beautiful lady. But how the heck? I mean, I'm like, it's like, you're like, whoa, whoa, because
yeah, I mean, the funny thing is you mentioned Caitlin Clark. First of all, we have to say that her being on this Time cover and being named Athlete of the Year is actually controversial to some people, despite the fact that she seems to almost single-handedly have revolutionized interest in the WNBA. I mean, the only person I ever knew to watch WNBA is my own mother. I didn't know anyone else. My mother loves it. Hola, Jefe Latino Slant. Welcome. Thank you. Good to have you. And there's people who are like, oh, it's racist because, I guess there's more, Black American women, but I don't know. I don't take it that way. I take it as she's fresh and new and she has a great talent. I don't know why people have to make everything about race. I mean, she's a lovely girl. I never heard anything bad about her. She plays well. I mean, people are always going to feel a little jealous if you're upstaged, but I don't think that, you know what, she apparently came out and says, okay, yeah, I have white privilege. You know what, that was nice of her to say, I guess, because she wants people to feel comfortable with her. Some people say that's not right. She's giving in to the woke mob, whatever. I mean, I think she's not trying to be a politician out here, right? She's just trying to do her thing, and she does her thing really well. And you mentioned Simone Biles. She's amazing. My goodness, didn't she win gold at the Olympics?
Yeah,
I think for gymnastics. And so how do you get this fly in the ointment? You get this, this woman, look, if you want to have fun, please look on YouTube on this platform and please find Simone Biles's. Thank you, Fletcher, for putting her up. Her, I think, floor routine for the gold, one of them is flawless. Like, if you want to believe in God, I mean, you're like, only God can let somebody do the things this young woman is doing. It's insane, okay? I mean, they're always amazing. You think of Nadia Comaneci and all that. She has her own style. She's so powerful and also beautiful. These are women who, man, they gave their whole childhoods and lives to be amazing at their craft, to be the best. And then here comes this fly in the ointment, as we would say from my family in the South. This Imane guy, I'm sorry, that's a dude, XY chromosome and an underdeveloped male genitalia. I'm sorry it came out that way. Life happens. It doesn't make you okay with beating up a woman in the ring and saying that you're a woman so you can get all these accolades. And how can they think that's okay to leave out some wonderful woman who spent her whole life so that he could step in front with, as Sir Glenn says, a more manly gait than his, walking down there, have the nerve, at least put a dress on. I mean, dang, at least play the part. I saw it, Fletcher, I was like, oh, I see, he's come out as male now. That's what I had thought when I first saw that.
It's like, it's a trap. It's a trap.
I mean, oh my goodness. This has got to stop.
Yeah.
It's not common. I mean, common sense. I don't think this is popular with people, though, to be honest.
Underdeveloped, overcompensated?
I think they go together.
Yeah, they could. I mean, nobody's taken the humanity out of this person.
Yeah, and people are,
if they had, unfortunate, it's like, it's unfortunate events. Unfortunately, there's sin that came into the world, and now this person is confused because their organs are mixed in the female and
I don't
male
think it's even
part.
that could happen.
If we're saying that,
yes,
let's stay in the best
case
in it,
scenario,
kind of like Jamie Lee Curtis, right? who was born, she was born with some of the male genitalia and all stuff. Yeah, ambiguous in a sense.
Yeah.
You would never see Jamie Lee Curtis and think, oh my God, that's a dude. You know what I mean? But we're talking about somebody who you obviously you have the chromosomes of a male. You have the chromosomes of a male.
100% a guy.
Man, I'm sorry. If you ever boxed, when I was a kid, I used to box. And if you ever box, you get punched by, your sister or your cousin as a female of, whatever, even no matter how strong or buff they are. You get punched by a male, it's a complete different experience.
Imagine in the face.
In the face. And here you have somebody trained to smash you the hardest way possible, meaning they use their hips, they use their stance. And you're going up against, you shouldn't be doing that.
With denser muscles, with faster reflexes, all of which the science shows men have, and this man has. This man had some kind of genetic defect, I'm certain a congenital problem, that doesn't make him any less male. I mean, he is a man. And as far as the mixed genitalia, I don't believe he has it. That's what came out, that he had a micro organ. And that's why they said, oh, okay. But no, look at this musculature. None of the women look like that. Look at that. Look at the physiognomy. I agree with Lady Jen. Caitlin Clark and Simone Biles are women to look up to. The third individual, I don't know about them. I think what we said once before during the Olympics, that's called a cheater. That's what cheating is. Like, you have a natural advantage and you are using it to dominate a bunch of people who could not ever really compete with you. I mean, isn't it that 2 men came in 1 and 2 at the Olympics? What a shame. How that's a scandal. And Angela Carini is Lady Jen mentioned Angela Carini. I think that's the woman who he boxed and sent home. She had worked so hard, but she really wanted to bring that home to her dad. I guess he really needs her help. She was looking for the prize money to help him, I think, with an operation. I hope that someone's provided it to her. Yeah, because I heard people said that they really felt bad. She was, looking to be the winner and probably would have been, but for, a man beating her up. She said she'd never in her whole career, and she's trained like crazy, been hit that hard before, because she's never been with a man in the ring before. She was stunned. She was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't go any further. She had to stop, but she was crying, fell into a ball of tears because she could not go on.
Yeah, she had got hit once, and that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
Like, that was it.
Yeah, because she's used to women hitting her. Yeah. This is nonsense. I'm sorry. This is nonsense. Now, President-elect Trump said he's going to do something about men and women's sports. I don't know if he really can do anything. But we've spoken about it before, Fletcher, people who have been forfeiting games, again, not just because they disapprove, but also for their own personal safety.
Yeah, completely. Because, I mean, we have to protect our women in sports. So many women fought to have women's sports to begin with. True. To have it go down like this. I mean, to this be the thing that pushes women completely over, like not wanting to do any sports, then I'm sorry. This time to do something. And it's like I said, it's no shade on this dude that, whatever happened.
No shade. Let them have their own. Let them have their own league. Yeah. People have proposed that, Fletcher. Yeah. People have proposed that. And here's the other thing that's even equally important. Sports have been shown to have girls, especially younger girls, have stronger self-esteem, better health, better mental health. In other words, young girls who get involved with sports, they tend to delay fornication or sex before marriage. They tend not to do that or not do it as early. They tend to avoid drugs. They tend to have a better mood. Okay, their cycles are more regular, like all the good things that you would want for young girls. It's great that they get involved with sports. You should be happy your daughter wants to do sports, your sister wants to do sports. It's going to make her life better, and that health will go on through her years. The studies are showing that if you do sports young, a lot of the gains will stay with you, even if you don't continue them as you're older. But if you have these boys being able to be in girls' sports and that discourages girls, they know they can't win, or they're afraid to get harmed, or they don't want to share a locker room with some boy, then you're going to discourage them from that. And that hurts all of society. That makes it much less likely that they'll do sports, which we know is good for young women.
No, completely. And it feels kind of, it's just out there, and I'm so sorry that this happened to
Angela Carini. You know what, somebody send her a crown. She deserves it.
Yeah, it's so true. But what we're also seeing is something kind of disturbing. Is this, sadly at Christmas time, but there was a lot of pardons going on from Biden administration. And according to the Daily Mirror, there's a terrifying reason behind them. I know that you've been following some of this, Ursula, because it looks like a lot of PDF files and a lot of abusers of women.
Not just PDF files who killed their child victims.
Yes. Yeah. So it looks like people are calling for the removal of President Biden because it's been sold by Democrats as mercy to allow disgraced President Joe Biden to ride out his term. But how much can he do, they ask, as it turned out, an ungodly amount. Devastating and just dangerous harm, all exacted by the presidents. We know, thanks to Blockbuster expose last week, has been cognitively impaired since before day one, and the Democrat Party has shed self-preservation left. Its leaders hold any hope of rebounding. So I guess there's been like a bit of a, maybe he's not the one who did this, but other people. But it doesn't change the fact that a lot of sentences have been commuted. What that usually means is people that were on death row are no longer in death row. So what happened is nearly 40 men on federal death row, including child, and the other, we see right here.
So
right here is
monsters.
These
monsters.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Monsters who violated children and snuffed them out, deleted them.
Correct.
And did that, to multiple children. But here's the thing people need to keep in mind. Some of these people who got pardoned, some of these individuals, I'm not sure if they get personhood from me. They killed people in prison. They didn't just, the reason some of them got on death row, not from their original offense, but because not only did they murder and got themselves put in prison, they also then murdered people in prison.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, I know that there's a lot of people, even on our Catholic side, who are.
There's a lot of Catholics who are very confused about this,
including the Pope, that is talking a little bit about this also, because they're saying if there's a prison and there's a system that can hold the prisoner, then there shouldn't be a death penalty, and that is great in the magical world if you have a place where a person cannot escape. We, on the other hand, have relatives and know a little bit about the justice system. And we know that not all, I'm sorry, but South America, where I come from, prisons are not invulnerable at all. So the whole idea that prisons can secure and all stuff, and the other thing that's happening here, some of these folks, like you said, even in jail, they committed murder. So it's not like, they're like, oh, imagine if you let them out, they killed in prison. And he's saying, you know what, that's all right. They took people out.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I was extremely disturbed this year to hear certain so-called traditional Catholics basically, condemning the death penalty, or hearing some priest the other day being like, oh, the one good thing that President Biden did, because he's not been a good Catholic, is commute the sentences of these on death row. First of all, you should know that, as you said, Fletcher, and well said, this man, looking at you right now, didn't pardon anybody. He has not been in his right mind for most of his presidency, as the Wall Street Journal basically said, as other people have said, as others who've been watching, some of them are coming out of the woodwork now and saying, he did show signs of decline and dementia way early, and it has been, a big cover up. So the idea that he is going through and pardoning, I think that's not the case. I think it's other people who have an agenda, and that agenda is not good. It's one that says that people who literally hurt women and children, should get a pass. And they are so against the death penalty that they're willing to be in your face about it to President-elect Trump, because Trump has said, he wants to restore law and order. And this way, with them being pardoned, is impossible now for them to be executed, as they were found completely guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. They've had all their appeals, and they did horrendous acts that each of their individual states, had death penalty laws against, or there were federal crimes. And so this is, really, really bad. But the idea that Catholics have is because on the catechism, when Pope John Paul II, I think, did another pass at that, he said, and this made it into that, if you have the big green catechism at home, you know what I'm talking about. It says something like, the death penalty is something that should only be used if there's no other option. Kind of what you just said, basically what you just said, Fletcher. And that was the first that people had heard of that, because the Catholics have never said the death penalty is in and of itself sinful. It's not like deleting unborn babies. That has never, from the earliest times of the church, if people are interested, you can go back as early as the 1st century. There's something called the Didache, Didache. It was writings by the disciples and apostles of Christ not long after he died. It's not scripture, but it is a writing. And I was amazed to learn that this exists, and you can find it. You can probably get it even on Amazon. It's translated from the Greek. And basically what it was a little handbook of disciples of Christ. And they said how they would do baptisms, and how they would set up mass, and how they would do this and that. And they said, oh yeah, make sure people know you can't be deleting unborn babies. So that's been part of the church's teaching forever. But as far as the death penalty, Jesus was sent to the death penalty. He never said that was wrong. He was unjustly condemned. But he never said, oh, there shouldn't be one. He didn't say, Pontius Pilate, it's wrong for you to put anyone to death. He never spoke out about it, because it is a just punishment. And the Pope John Paul also didn't say it was unjust. He just said, well, it's not compassionate, it seems. Like, it's not, you don't need to do it if you can hold people forever. The reason there was a death penalty is because we didn't have prisons, as you said, Fletcher. So where are people going to go? You can't exile them all. So you have to just kill them. Well, as you said, we don't have the space for them now either.
Yeah, they're letting them out left and right.
Yeah, and if you have someone who's literally, I think they said several of the ones he had commuted, that Biden commuted, had killed people in prison. So you're saying it's unsafe for them to be held in prison for the rest of their lives. Some of them are young. They might live a long time. So what about the guards that are guarding them? What about fellow prisoners who don't deserve to be killed? You're saying, oh yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're showing these people, these individuals. And
some of them, like I said, there was no remorse towards them.
Yes.
One of them, were basically, I think some of the talks, from the person who, abused, and it's kind of like this, these horrible people. I guess it's hard to say, but it's, I guess, part of the, little communication they have. Like this person, when he got arrested, this thing,
this psychopath.
Yes, the psychopath had it was a wiretap an exchange on communication of this, and he said, does the lion feel remorse when it kills the hyena? And the question was, do you feel bad? Nope. At all? Nope. And this is somebody who murdered children. Not only murder, but it's just horrible. And to say like, yeah, these people, I mean, there's come a time I could be honest in this. I have family members who have done things that they're not proud of, and they're serving their time. And, we know why they're there, because they're serving their time because they did something that they shouldn't have done. And we pray for them. We send them things. Now, nothing as nothing as despicable and heinous as this, because if that was the case, I think some of our family members would take on different connotations because we take care of our own in our sense. But, this is just, it's heinous and another thing.
And it's disrespectful too. It's like saying that what matters. Sometimes there's a death penalty for a reason. I don't think that Pope John Paul was referring to these kinds of cases. I think that some people are given the death penalty for things that really aren't. I'm not saying they're not bad, because usually it's somebody that got murdered, but it's saying that it's something that maybe they could repent of. Maybe it was a crime of passion. Maybe it was impulsive. It's not saying that it was good, but you're talking about here of systematic killers. I mean, deleters, and the ones you just showed, Fletcher, are horrifying. This is not, and again, they can't be, you can't keep them safe. A lot of people also escape from prison, even maximum security prisons. It happens. You don't hear about them because it's in the prison's best interest not to advertise that their prison isn't safe. But every prison has had, in fact, if you want to be amused, you can find this Japanese guy. You can watch it on this platform, on YouTube or whatever, who escaped, like, I don't know, 20 different times from maximum security prisons. He couldn't be kept. I think they even have a statue of him, and he's dead now. May he rest in peace, because he, I think, did have a conversion. They couldn't keep him in prison. Even with all the security in the world. I mean, wasn't it that Mexican drug lord who got out because he had
there's
bribed?
so many. I mean, we can't even talk about Latin America in prison because it's laughable in a sense, but
this would happen in America, Fletcher.
Yeah,
he was actually
completely. There's
and so the idea that,
all
like,
over from even American side.
Yeah, America is like, oh, so wonderful. We don't need to execute prisoners because we can keep them forever. Like, that's not necessarily the case.
Right. No, it's completely right. And I know we're getting a little bit, but we wanted to cover this at least briefly because it's out there, and these monsters.
We have to talk about this, Fletcher. This goes along. Yeah. So everybody knows about this, but do you want to just kind of be careful of our of how we say things?
Yeah. So these two persons,
monsters,
adopted sons, but now are sentencing because they basically use their sons as merchandise in horrible acts, and I think they
gratified themselves as well. They gratified themselves with their children that they adopted and sold them for the same kinds of acts and recorded them. Recorded themselves gratifying themselves for merchandise. And you know what? We can't even say all the things they did, but
we can't even say all the things they did. But they. I guess they were also spared the deletion penalty, and from from their heinous act. So I guess they ran a PDF file ring, and I guess were celebrated by Democrat activists, couple Democrat activists out here in 2022. So it's very recent. So I guess in town hall they did an extensive 4-part investigation on the crimes, which included their 2 adopted, and they were not only that, the special need kids. So it doesn't.
Yeah, I'd heard that. So
it hurts,
sad.
So these are kids who can't even say that, what's been going on to them. They sold them off. They made films, so this stuff is out there. Who knows if it can ever be deleted. But
So
I guess.
Yeah, that's right. That's the other thing. It can continue to victimize them.
Yeah, it's continue to victimize wherever they go.
They did their own homemade movies of their abuse of their children that they had adopted and distributed for others to partake. And as you said, made them merchandise more than one way. I think not just from their own. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. And you see this picture, they're pretending as though, they're this wonderful, adjusted, look at the cool pictures, the shirts that they wear, the branding. Yeah, branding of the family. And in fact, this was a house of horrors for these poor children. I don't know if they can get better, Fletcher. You have to just pray. Those who pray,
and we are asking to please pray for these children, because I don't even know how you can move on for something like this. And we ask for prayer for the 2 kids. We pray for justice to be done. They
are in foster care, I understand. I'm sorry, Fletcher, you're about to pray or something. I don't want to
No. We just really pray that, that the Lord cover these children, because
yes, Lord,
they really need it. And if you can set a time maybe to pray for the 2 children, God will know their names. Just put them up in prayer, because they really do need it.
Now, my understanding is that these 2 monsters got 100 years each, so they should not be getting out anytime soon, even if their sentence were shortened. I hope that you don't have anything like another President Biden coming and commuting them, letting them out.
Yeah.
Because they won't stop. These are actual predators. They literally adopted these boys with the intention of abusing them, like to use them for their gratification and to sell it and to make them do things. And if you can't show it, but Fletcher, if anybody who wants to read about it, go and try to Google the actual article. We only showed you part of it. Some of it is so foul and offensive. It's a family show. So one of the things they said about the boys, oh my gosh, it's not suitable for polite company. So we can't repeat it.
It's none of this stuff.
But this helped him get caught, because he had it like on his social media, I guess, like maybe dark web, right? Because it was advertising what they were doing.
Where there's horrible things out there about this horrible thing, and I only ask that you pray for these children, because they do need it. And
to be honest, we should
hopefully
say
there's some Christian justice a little bit in there.
I know. Now that's a good segue to what I was going to say, Fletcher, which is, since we are Catholic, I said, honestly, we actually have to ask you to pray for the 2 monsters, because I think there is, it's hard to believe God's mercy, but one thing we would hope is they would be repentant, that they would spend the rest of their lives, their miserable lives, reflecting upon the evil they inflicted upon these poor children and repenting from it, because there's justice. God is going to get them, but you hope that they don't go to hell, because we're not supposed to really hope anyone goes. We're supposed to hope that they are, saved. But so, I don't know. Right now, I can't say I can bring myself to pray for them, but I know that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, and sorry, I'll do confession on that one.
Oh no, I'm not. I didn't mean it for you. I didn't mean it for you. I like what Lady Jen says is true. In a perfect world, we'd live in a world where CPS was never needed and monsters like these 2 never existed. It's just sad. We have to live in a world where CPS is needed. That is so true.
It is.
Where I think that, Child Protective Services, for those who are watching us from other places who don't know, that's why they ended up getting these children, because for whatever reason, they were either neglected or abandoned by their birth families. And so, they got adopted. The question is, what kind of background checks, because my understanding is that one of these monsters had an accusation of PDF files against him, that he had committed some egregious act against a child, but it was dropped for lack of evidence. But I'm sorry, if you're doing adoptions of children, wouldn't you follow that up? And if there's any kind of doubt like that, it's too serious to kind of look the other way. Wouldn't you consider that? I think that adoption agency has to be sued by someone, and hopefully
I think anybody who's involved in any part of this should be dismantled or anything like that. And
because they didn't even look into it. All they thought was, oh, look, they look like, to me, I wonder if it's a woke thing, Fletcher. It's like, I don't want to discriminate against the two guys, so we got to just let them go without looking into it. And they didn't look into it.
It is one of those things where you're kind of like going, yeah, maybe you didn't do your job because you wanted to set a precedent.
Yeah, they wanted to look, it's virtual signaling.
It is completely, but this is where it goes wrong. But we do have a time when some of the virtual signaling did not go the way that it was planned, and it went the right way. You had sent me this with Victory from Vegas mom who sued the school district over a child, horrible
corn graphics,
and this is crazy because you have corn assignments for children. So I guess this is Las Vegas mother has settled with her local school district after her 13-year-old daughter was forced to memorize and read out explicit monologues in front of her theater class. So her and her husband filed $50,000 lawsuits against Clark County District and Superintendent Jesus Jara last year, alleging they engaged in unlawful grooming and abuse of a minor over assignments which they characterized as corn material. They said the unnamed daughter, a student in Las Vegas Academy of the Arts, was made to perform a monologue written by a fellow student in which the narrator came out as lesbian and talked about not liking penises. So
male genitalia.
So we did have like a little bit where, maybe there's a little bit of silver lining where we do see that maybe certain things are not as they shouldn't be taught at school. And this might be a good precursor to that, right?
I think this, for those who have been following the story, this woman went to the school board to read aloud the assignment that her daughter was required not just to say, but to memorize and say.
Right.
And they kept interrupting her and threatening her, saying and in fact, they ended up cutting her microphone because they say what she's saying is obscene and there's certain decorum I'm sorry,
for a meeting,
you're saying for the meeting, but this is what the child is being made to read and memorize for her class. And it's so vile and so foul. You don't want to hear it in the public sphere at this meeting, but you're okay with having teachers require her to read it for a minor child. And it's sad because at first the teacher doubled down and everybody was sort of like, oh, she's making too much of a big deal about it. But then I guess because people, like us, normal people, normal parents, normal people are saying, no, this is outrageous. This is something even an adult would blush. They say it's really bad, Fletcher. I haven't gotten to read it and I'm okay with that. I've seen others. No, because I've seen others where during the whole time when parents have been going to these board meetings, especially during the COOF, because kids are being suddenly, on the internet, at home and seeing what they're reading and stuff. A lot of parents didn't really know what was going on before. So that's when a lot of more parents got involved and they were going to these meetings. Some of the stuff I've seen published was enough. I mean, as a married woman, I was like, whoa, like I am blushing. I mean, it's so, and they have children doing it, and you know what? I mean, if I'm a grown woman and I'm, blushing by reading some of the graphics and some of this is what they're giving even small children. I have seen some of them, they're like, manuals and sometimes stories, but they have, I mean, you don't want to look this up, you guys, but I saw it and some parents were publishing it and putting on social media what their children were reading. It is like, whoa. That is something that like you would literally hide in your house. Like it's something grown folks honestly, it was a bit too much for me as a grown folk and a married woman. And so you telling little kids between like 5 and 12 and 13 years old that's outrageous. When I first saw this story, I thought maybe she was, because it's a theater school, maybe she was doing that play that they do every February 14th for Valentine's Day, the V monologues. We won't say the name. But it's worse because it's a child writing. Now, you should ask yourself, if you're a teacher and you have a young woman, a young girl writing very sexually explicit material, so much so that it gets banned from the mom reading it at a public meeting, wouldn't you wonder, hey, is everything going on okay at home? How do you know this stuff? Because that shows me that already there's some, you don't know that stuff when you're a kid. So there has to be someone introducing it to you. It's probably something that's not good in that other child's life. And she wrote it, and then they made the other girl, speak it. But like you said, Fletcher, it is a sign of a change because this woman, the mom and dad, they did win.
Right.
And hopefully now the school will have a slap down to realize that is not acceptable to use our children this way for your own, I guess, fetish. Because what are you getting out of having a young girl or, recite something so disturbingly graphic that the mom can't even say it at an adult meeting?
Right. And that's the thing, because you're basically saying if you can't read it out loud at a government meeting about funding for children education, then maybe it shouldn't be in the children education. Just FYI. But what do I know? What do we know?
What do we know?
What do we know?
But that means you guys, you got to pay attention to what your children are doing. The only reason that mom and dad were able to do what they did to stop it is because they paid attention. So
yeah, it's anything that's got to do with your kids. Please pay attention. Always review. Homeschooling if you can. It's get along with other bunch of parents and hey, do it up.
And the only reason that the young girl was honestly very uncomfortable with it. It was causing her immense anxiety. She didn't want to say them, but she didn't want to get a bad grade because she had tried to get out of it. Yeah, doesn't want to be singled out. There's peer pressure. And so thankfully her mom and she had a good relationship that she could confess what was causing her this agitation. And the mom paid attention and then followed up with it. But that just shows that these teachers are bullies because the kid was clearly uncomfortable and you're like, you better do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not Shakespeare you're making her read. This is some disgusting smut that a fellow student wrote who's also probably being exposed to something that she shouldn't be. Right. That's ridiculous. Anyway.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's anytime kids are involved, it's hard. We do like to see that there's a little bit of discourse even among us here on the right. Me being extreme right, and Ursula being like right, basically centered right. I guess. What are you, center right or?
I'm a moderate.
I'm
a
extreme.
Moderate.
Like, if you feel like the Pope is on the right, I'm like past the Pope on the right, where would you be, Ursula?
I'm down the middle. I try to be open to both sides. That's why, for a little while there I was entertaining, Vice President Harris as an idea. I couldn't fully because of her position on deleting the unborn, but at one point, it seemed to be closer in terms of that. I didn't realize how much she'd come out.
You do like your cousin Cornel West,
I do like Cornel West, yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, that apart. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I would probably, would have had a little bit of he's obviously inappropriate. But Bernie Sanders, I kind of like the Bernie bros. I was kind of I like some of that. I know.
You're such a commie.
I know. And
this is what I got to deal with, guys.
I know.
I can. So I know there are a lot of people were talking about this whole income tax with tariffs thing that Trump was talking about, and this was an interesting part of it because you sent me this. This is from conservative side Lucianne, and this is basically we're going to look at some of this comments that are happening on this. So this is from the article said, soon to be Donald Trump has talked about getting rid of U.S. income tax and replacing it with a system of tariffs. He has come under heavy criticism from Democrats and many economists, but the average American appeared to like the idea, with plurality favoring Trump's idea. And the latest poll shows that December online poll asked that 1,441 adults across the country. The following question, President Trump has talked about replacing the income tax with tariffs, taxes on selected imports. Tariffs usually is like a tax that you put on the imports coming in. Would you support or oppose the move? The poll margin error was minus, I guess, 2.6 percentage points. And a lot of people were commenting on this. You had sent me this, and I was like checking this out. Of course, it's there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who be on board. I think what people should realize, which was a shock to me, I don't know if you even knew this, Fletcher, it wasn't always a time that the government imposed an income tax. Believe it or not everyone had one. I mean, that's hard to believe, right? You're like, wait, what happened? Really? So that was not from the beginning. It wasn't from the beginning that there would be tax on income that the government would impose. That came upon later in our country's history. What they did do was kind of what President Trump is talking about now, President-elect Trump is talking about now, which is that you have tariffs on things to raise money so that you're not taking it from the pockets of the people, which is what the model has been, for the last 100 or so years. So I think a lot of people, this could be, I don't think Democrat elites will like it, but I think a lot of the people on the ground, especially if they give, Trump a chance, some people just knee-jerk hate anything he comes up with. But I think, as you see here, a lot of people think it's a good idea. They like the idea of a consumption tax. They have a way that everyone could contribute. Having, some other way of doing it. Now, there are also some downsides, and some people have come up with them, that, there could be a kind of unfairness if there's something like that, because the lower income people will end up paying a larger chunk, right? 17% of your income, if you make a lot more money, is not that bad. But say 17%, if that's the number some have come up with, if you make very little, it's quite a bit. But there could be ways to work around that. You can make it a graduated thing and still have it be a little more simple, or have like a standard exemption and not have to do the very arcane income tax things, which are so difficult to get done, so hard to do, and really make it easier for people who are wealthy to get help, who can afford for the best kind of planners and accountants to help them, and others don't have that.
I mean, imagine if you're going to take all those, because there was a post recently, I think Elon Musk was talking about, they're doing that whole DOGE thing that we were talking about earlier. And they're saying that I think like only 6% of government workers like actually go to the office or anything like that. So it's like 90-something% of the office space that the government uses, the federal government uses, is not really used by people. A very small percentage of people go there. So you're basically saying, imagine it, a place's 3-letter agency, like the ones who collect tax and hound you for your tax. If they're no longer needed, look at all those, look how much we're saving in power and energy and water and all those buildings. But, some of these people are,
and some of them have been weaponized.
Yeah,
and some of them have been weaponized to go after conservatives. I mean, we saw that before. That's come out. Actually, it's not a conspiracy theory, by the way.
Conspiracy, no.
it actually came out.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's come out. It's been testified to. And I believe there were some whistleblowers as well who said, they sometimes saw what kind of organization it was and decided maybe they need an audit because they were going against the cultural narrative. They were a conservative organization, or maybe they were pro-life or something like that. And that's improper. It feels dangerous to even be talking about this. Maybe we should move on, Fletcher. So
sorry, but no, because a lot of people, because it's like if you do have something like a tariff tax and a consumption tax, because people are saying, like, one of the biggest arguments are like, well, illegal immigration, like the illegal immigrants don't pay for their taxes. But yeah, with this, you would have even people who came illegally and all stuff pay for some of that tax, because you are paying for whatever you get, so there's almost like a flat tax. And a lot of people were just saying that, this could work. This could work on a few levels. So I don't know. What are you guys saying on this? So
that would help with a major problem that we have, which is that because of so many quote undocumented people, many of whom are from Mexico, who do not pay taxes, they work under the table and then send money back to Mexico, meaning you're taking up resources here, you're taking up time here, you're taking up things here, but not paying back into here, and enriching Mexico at the expense of the host country that's making you wealthy enough to send money back home. And so, like, some have proposed, like, get a portion of the Western Union money, because apparently a lot of money is sent back to that country that we don't get to benefit from. So that would be a little bit more of a fair system, especially when, their kids are in school, they're at hospitals, they're not paying property tax necessarily if they're working at the table, but, or, renting or whatever, but they are taking a lot, but not giving in. This might be a one way to get wider participation. That's an argument I've heard.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I think it's part of that whole thing to where you're saying, hey, anytime where you can get rid of bloating and make it work, then that makes it work. So we'll see what you what's the chat saying about this? If we go, let's see. So Jen says, speaking of the Pope, Ursula, did you see the picture of Madonna with the AI Pope? We did talk about it last.
We talked about that last week,
but we didn't show the picture because it's,
we don't want to show the picture, but
we did talk about it.
We
did talk about it. Yeah.
How is she in her 60s still causing trouble?
It's just it's
she's
ridiculous.
A bad actor.
Sir Glenn says, like Bernie because everyone on both right and left is like the reminder of Perot. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so many Perot. Yeah, Perot is cool. I like
Perot is cool, and I think you're right. Yeah. That's probably what I liked about Bernie too. And I see that Lady Jen also dug him. At one point.
She said in the 2620, but he has kept getting DC too many times. Yeah, he did get DNC too many times. I love that. Did you get DNC? Yeah, I love that. That could be a T-shirt. Bernie 2016, 2020. He kept getting DNC'd. Oh, Jen, I might have to steal that for a T-shirt. Sashi says, I'm Asian, which is white adjacent, and I'm a dude. That makes me right-wing misogynist. I once made a comment on an Obi-Wan series and got called that for white privilege. That's hilarious, Sashi. Yeah, man, dude. Oh my gosh, that Obi-Wan series deserved to be called out. That was an atrocious thing and an affront to all that, all that Star Wars. I mean, there's so many. Oh, we can talk. I won't get into it yet because Ursula will be like, Fireback wants to call that white privilege to ask if they thought all Asians were Chinese because it seemed racist. Yeah, well, there you go. I'm from South America, and all the time the people who are so-called very progressive, they're like, "Well, you Mexicans," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not really from Mexico. I lived in Mexico, but not really from Mexico." But yeah, they do kind of bunch us up whenever the argument kind of falls out of the realm of whatever it is, then yeah, they usually start falling into they put us in some categories that usually could be considered might be racist. But that's funny, Sasha. Talking about fellow Asians. It seems like a lot of people in the Asian community are waking up. So this is from the Kamala Harris campaign. So her advisor, Lindy Lee, quit the Democratic Party and says, "I'm leaving a cult." Now, this is a little bit,
I mean, she's
very much, because these are people who tone the line, very much, like all their life. This is kind of like their livelihood.
I mean, this is an amazing development. I think this says a lot because she was an advisor, this woman, Lindy Lee, and she was a mega donor to the Democrat Party. She was serving as the women's co-chair, the Mid-Atlantic Regional Chair at the DNC. And she is publicly saying that she's leaving the party and also that she considers it a cult. I mean, you have people for the first time speaking out against that, place. And a lot of people are saying, especially minorities, a lot of people who are, quote, people of color, Asians, Blacks, Latinos, are saying they're done. They're done because they feel that it is cult-like. In fact, they're meant to kind of all agree and see things the same way, and dissent is, looked down upon. And that is a reason enough to leave it. So I think it's an interesting comment from her, because she knows the inside baseball, as you will, right? She knows how the sausage is made. And for her to come out and say that could be why the campaign seems so tone deaf, right? We talked about that throughout the whole campaign period. It just seemed like they're not even, remember the meltdowns we covered the days after the election, like nobody cares about the price of eggs. We're like, dude, people care about the price of eggs. What are you talking about right now? Like, who are you talking to that you're so, did you see that, Fletcher, the guy who was having another meltdown in his car recently? And he's like, he was teaching or was a staff member at University of Oregon or something. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, it was something.
And he was basically condemning all people who voted for Trump, and also made the same claim that, like, and in his case, he didn't say he thought it was specious, right? He didn't say, oh, they're just saying it's the price of gas and eggs. He's saying, if all you care about are the price of your milk and eggs and gas, then, you don't deserve. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. You look well-fed in a nice car, talking about how other people don't need to be worried about price of gas and eggs. Dude, come on, man. Get out of here with all of that. If we find it, maybe we'll do a short video on that, Fletcher. If we find it.
No.
Look out for it, you all.
Yeah,
he got fired, and he should have.
As well, he should have. So this was when she came out live on the air, and talking about it with Piers Morgan. So here's a little bit about. Let me know if you can hear it.
Democrats have got to move on quickly, haven't they?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. She's indulging delusions of running for governor in California in 2026 and perhaps even running for president in 2020. And I just want to echo.
Did you hear that? So she's talking about, BP Harris, because she's actually wants to run more. So I guess the memo went out that she was a great candidate and she could win more, right? So
I think the proper word is what Miss Lee said: delusion. What's the word of today, you all? Delusion.
Let's hear more what she has to say.
What a lot of you guys already said. This past week has been harrowing for me. This Saturday, I went on Fox and Friends and I said that Democrats have a stench of loser hanging over them.
Yeah.
As soon as I said that, there were boycott campaigns against me, unblock, unfollow campaigns. I lost 40,000 followers.
Really?
Wow.
In 4 days. People have called me the W word. I don't know what we're allowed to say, but you can fill in the blank.
We're uncensored. Let's say it. Say it. Say what the word was.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Well, they called me a whore. They called me the C word. They asked for me to be deported. And you can just search for my name.
So basically, she didn't even say. I guess the unmitigated goal, she went on Fox, right?
I thought WHOREs were championed by the left. That's what I don't understand. So now that's a bad word. You're confusing me. Yeah, I'm so confused. Like, I thought you all wanted women to be that, and then delete their babies.
Shouldn't you have like an OnlyFans or something? And
so I thought that was like champion? I thought we're not doing the SLUT shaming. I thought so now that's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's funny
how they jump back from that. Suddenly it was like, oh, you're so prudish. You're saying get married before you have sex. But now when someone goes against you, you're like, you call them a WH word.
And she's just basically saying that, hey, we got in other words, she kind of is claiming this. We have the stench of just we lost. Instead of like, okay, we lost. Let's get back up. What else can we do, right? But then she just says that, and right away she gets basically excoriated, gets called things that, according, like you said, they were taboo, right? I mean, isn't that like we talked about the VJJ monologues? Wasn't that kind of like a part of the, the W word and the C word are basically like, let's take over them and take them back. You shouldn't be, there should be no shaming of sex work and all stuff. So you're like, but as soon as she has, okay, I'll have a different, and I'm sorry, it does feel like I can't stand the word people of color. But it does feel like whenever we have a different opinion than what we were told to have by certain people or certain organizations, then right away it's like, you have to jump up ugly, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think she's probably right when she says it's a cult, because that's how cults act. It's like there's no freedom of thought. You can't express even the slightest dissent. It's like you can't even say you don't think that this woman was a good candidate. That can't be said in your circle, because you should be able to say, even if it's the same, political group, hey, I don't think this is a good candidate. Why is that going to cause you to be ejected from the group? They're like Robotons. I don't know. That's insane.
No, it does feel like it's some kind of like weird. It's almost like, you don't toe this line. That's it. We're gonna, it's crazy. But let's
in those terms on X, and you'll see a bunch of them. So, all these so-called Democrats, the party of inclusion, the party of diversity, masks off. And it's even worse because they pretend to occupy the moral high ground. At least with Republicans, they are who they are. But with Democrats, they pretend to be, so loving and caring and embracing of diversity. But all of a sudden, when I dare to utter any criticisms of the goddess, Kamala Harris, I get ostracized. Me, after having raised tens of millions of dollars for the party. And I'm being called a grifter when all along, all these years, I've said on TV, I've said to the press, I'm a conservative Democrat. This is not a switch for me. This is just me. This is who I've always been. Yeah. And also, my donors are pissed. They raised $2.5 billion across Super PAC in the campaign. It's my responsibility. It's my duty of care to ask what the hell happened with that money? Why did we spend it? Why did we spend millions of dollars on 5-star hotels for campaign staffers? Why did we spend $500,000 essentially bribing Al Sharpton moments before he interviewed Kamala? These are legitimate questions, but no, in the cult, you can't ask questions.
Yeah.
I mean, this is shocking. She's basically saying, look, you guys are full of the stench of failure. And now you're saying, where did the money go? Because I have people asking me, where did the money go? And maybe you shouldn't spend it on, things so lavishly. And all the overspending that we heard about this is Democrat. This is a Democrat talking. This is somebody who raised money. And anytime you're saying, where did the money go? Which makes me even more curious. Where did the money go if their own people don't know where the money goes?
Well, part of it, like she said, 5-star hotels for staffers. Are you serious? That must have been a fun gig. Go to the Ritz-Carlton, and you're like, you're just collecting signatures for the campaign or something. You're just a staffer. You're like living large. That's great.
I mean,
you saw that she spent a whole bunch of money to have that one really seedy show, Call Me Daddy, set up instead of using their set so that she could just do it in another city, and it cost like 6 figures. When the woman who is the hostess of the show said it didn't cost that to make it in the first place.
Yeah, it's just wacky. But what are you guys talking about? So over here in Malaysia, we don't like Michelle Yao too, because she endorsed a political that was stealing state funds and allegedly ordered someone to be deleted. Yeah, I did hear about that. This is what happens when celebrities go out there and endorse. Because I did hear, even like in the Chinese, kind of elections and stuff that they were doing, there was some, a little bit of, weird things going on with Jackie Chan. I remember he was having some issues and stuff. So, and they don't, you don't play around with stuff like that. I do feel like anytime people ask, where did the money go? What are you guys doing behind the scenes? Like you said, these politicians are crooked. It's gonna stick to you no matter what. She's just basically asking what is going on, right? And Jen says that they don't even know what the definition of what a woman is. I doubt they know what the meaning of the WC, right?
That's probably what the problem is. They don't even know what
that's the main problem.
That's why they're using it so inappropriately. They don't even know what that means.
It's just,
they can't know what that word means. Honestly, they can't, because they celebrate making women into the WH word. They love that. They're like, go out and become that. So it's got to be, they must not know what it means, or the C word.
I don't know. Yeah, you have this idea to where, what are you really going against in this one, right?
No, I'm glad that she had the courage to speak. I mean, like she said, she has paid a price socially. She lost these followers, and people have, called her these horrible names, and I'm sure there's more fallout, but good for her. It takes that. Right. It's going to take that for people to wake up. I mean, she's not saying anything that people behind other doors are saying. They might be too afraid to say it, but a lot of people have left that Democrat plantation and are not going back.
No, I agree. And that's, people talking about a third party. I'm not the biggest fan of third parties, but it does seem like much like the
Cornel West, call your office.
No. There you go. But a lot of people are talking about, maybe, retake the party, because I do know a lot of myself personally, and know a lot of centrist Democrats. And they are not happy with everything that's going on as well. So it is a shift to getting less of these people out there. But it looks like the Dems are not the only one kind of like getting iffy right now. There's an attack on the MAGA side also. So it looks like there's a MAGA on MAGA crime, supposedly. So this post that's receiving all kinds of attacks on.
Run this by us, Fletcher. This is one of your pet projects. I don't understand what this controversy is about.
Okay, so basically, I could read a little bit. It's a little bit long with this stuff, but I'll read a little bit for you.
How about you want me to read it, then you discuss it?
Sure.
Okay, so it looks like this is a post from Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm not sure we ever learned how to say his name properly during this whole thing, maybe before the end of President Trump's second term. But it says the reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over, quote, Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth, which he puts in all caps. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s, and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young, also in caps. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. I don't know if you have the rest of it there.
Yeah.
A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, or Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel, or maybe that's Steven, over Steve Urkel and Family Matters, will not produce the best engineers. Fact. I know, quote, multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity, and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less, quote, hanging out at the mall. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids with scorn. If you grew up aspiring to normalcy, normalcy is what you achieve. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s or even now who raise their kids according to one model versus the other and be brutally honest. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent, and if we pretend like it does, we'll have our butts handed to us by China. This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from slumber before, and we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up, a culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. That's the work we have cut out for us, rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislating alternative hiring practices into existence. I'm confident we can do it. 2 American flags. And this was on December 26th, which is today, this morning, 10:02. And I did not know X lets you write this much stuff.
No, well, it's a pro council, yes, but this has gotten a lot of whiplash. It's funny that he put Whiplash as something as a movie to watch, because he did receive some of that whiplash back, because while some of the things that he's talking about we can see, we both know people like it's funny, like the what is the Tiger moms and the Nigerian moms, the Muslim moms that do this kind of stuff, to where you're like, you got to play the piano, you got to do all this kind of stuff. But I do feel that, sometimes in the United States, you have a lot of the, jock kind of stuff going on, but you do have a lot of excellency and all that kind of stuff that is happening. Some of the stuff that we've been fighting, I think, is that woke part. That maybe everybody gets a participation trophy, but a lot of the conservative side, at least, we push for the whole, everything should be done. Are you the best at your field and the best that you could do? So he's getting a lot of slack for this, shall we say, from even within the MAGA crowd, who's calling for him to be taken out of the administration for this take. Now, my take on this is like, I think I feel where he's coming from, because he's obviously from a family of, of Indian descent, where they cherish education and things like that. We know a lot of families like that. Although we also know people that, have gone not traditional education, but, gone forth in different ways. So a lot of people are feeling this one. I wanted to have your take on it, because you did not read this, you did not engage with this today. What is your first take on this, as somebody who values education as well?
Thank you, Fletcher. I think my first take on this is that he's not wrong. He's not wrong, but I think maybe it's a little bit like the kid who's not, the popular kid doesn't know how to talk to people. It's almost like, this is not the way you talk. It's tone deaf. It's not the right time, or it's not the moment to make this kind of statement. You don't say it in this way. But as far as the substance of what he's saying, I totally agree. And in fact, there was a book by a woman. It's called Tiger Mom. I think it should make a good movie. And that was very controversial. I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago or so. If you guys know when it was, let us know in the comments. And it's an Asian woman. I think she's Chinese. And I do believe she's a professor of some sort. And she was talking about, and I think it became a bestseller in the New York Times from the controversy alone, because she was saying that she does not let her kids be like normal American kids, because she says they do all these sleepovers, they play all these extracurricular sports and games, they don't do much studying, and their parents are very indulgent of them. They let them watch TV, they do all these things. She goes, my kids are raised the way I was raised, which is much more strict. It's much more like they have to do their homework, they have to play violin because I tell them to. They don't get to pursue just their own interests. They pursue things that I think were going to make them better people and better students and get into the best schools. And people say, oh, that's bad. But she's like, no, it's not, And so it was a big controversy. And she said, Tiger Mom, that's what a lot of Asian moms are like. But then she updated it. She goes, she's met now, I think it was in one of her introductions or forewords to the book. She goes, I used to think it was just Asians. But she said, actually, a lot of parents immigrant parents are this way. They want their kids to be the best. She goes, I've met African parents like this. I've met, European parents like this. It's not just Asians. Anyone can be a tiger mom. And some people were really angry about it, like they are about what Vivek says. Thank you for putting this up. This is, she was really, she did say some things that were rather harsh. I agree with most of what she said, but she was saying, like, as a Chinese mom, she was very demanding. So like if they got less than an A, she didn't applaud them for that. Right. I feel like that could be a bit much. Here's the thing. I think Vivek comes from this kind of culture, and that's what he's saying. He's saying, like, there's a lot of tiger moms in the world, and that's who we're competing against. And sort of the easygoing, cool, be cool kind of American, leather jacket, motorcycle, hang out, go to parties, all the funny, movies, like, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is kind of our culture that we've got to change, because if we're going to be, able to compete in tech, we have to have, the kind of, values that the people who are producing it. And he says that's the reason. It's not that people are discriminating against homegrown Americans, but they're getting a lot of these kids from overseas to do engineering. I'm not sure I fully agree with him. I think a lot of those HB1s or whatever they call them, the visas for so-called tech, are given out as nepotistic prizes, people who are hooked up. I also think people like people from overseas. They feel they're more easily malleable, that they're not going to demand the same things because they're happy to, I'm just happy to be here. It's just like if I were to go over to India and get a job doing something, I might be like, well, I don't know how things work here. I'm just happy you have me. I'm doing whatever, that could be part of it as well. I think that there's another part of this, which is what some people said with Tiger Mom. American culture might look like a slacker. It doesn't mean that it really is. Yes. We have a way of pretending, we want to, it's like, come on, when you were in school and you had a test, no one admitted. They'd be like, I didn't even practice. I just got up this morning and did it. But guess what? They were working all weekend. Because our culture is one in which we want to pretend like we're not working hard. We don't like the idea of a gunner, right? The idea of somebody who's like, the nerd has gotten actually a redo. Nerd culture is kind of hip now. So I don't know what he means by that.
I don't know what his name is.
The 90s, maybe the nerds kind of already in the 90s, nerds were coming back. I think he's thinking 80s. Like nobody wanted to be a nerd, but 90s nerds are hip. They're back. But I also think he's missing the point a little bit, because some of what those TV shows are about is about the performance of self. It's about, the way that people act cool and like pretend, but that doesn't mean they don't work hard. We have very smart people in this country, and we are much more interested in well-roundedness, which, by the way, can make for a better engineer. I mean, if you were hiring somebody to do something for you, do you want somebody who's only been in a cubicle, who can only crunch numbers? Or do you want somebody who can see a whole project, work with others, can talk to them, maybe get a beer after work, right? I think you who's not going to crash and burn and then jump off a bridge the first time something doesn't go, no pun intended.
Right?
The first time things don't go right. A lot of those kids in those Asian countries are stressed out of their minds. If you want to see something interesting, go to India, a video of India. I watched one of kids taking a final exam, because this final was like everything, relies upon it, because you can't go to the college you want. And there was parents outside literally passing notes. People were screaming. I mean, it was crazy how intense it was. It was not something we would want. Most Americans, even if they're not slackers, don't want their kids stressed out. Don't want their kids thinking that like it's the end of the world if they don't, get into MIT. So I agree with him. I think there's too much mediocrity. At the same time, I think what you're showing me is awesome. Do you want to read this?
Yeah. So this is I guess this guy's supposedly like conservative. I don't really follow him, Servovich, but he says the Woodstock generations managed to build our aerospace. The one before went to the moon. America was doing great. Underlying your post is that we are living in squalor until being rescued by H-1Bs. That's the visa for people who are.
That's what I was trying to remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Then why did everyone want to come here? You know, it's like, that's the thing. Everybody wants to come here. And this whole idea that, you know, if without those people, then we're not really doing it. Because last time I checked, I think, you know, the Saved by the Bells, you know, reference, I think they were both getting straight A's while being jocks. So it, you know, it does happen. And he does kind of like wants to clean it up a little bit, saying that, you know, that's a version of America that he kind of wants to go back to, but it doesn't like backtrack on his point and stuff. You know, big ex, you know, I guess conservative person, Cat to it. To really need to start listening to American inventors and what the world would have had without us. That's another thing. You know, America has, even if they're not, you know, highly educated, we have a lot of inventions from around the world were created by Americans.
Oh, heck,
you know?
yeah.
So it's like,
and I think all these people are correct, Fletcher, and thank you for letting me react to this, because I think Cernovich, or what, if that's how you say his name, is correct, that, you know, the Woodstock generation of hippies still sent people to build out aerospace. You know, I think that's what Vivek is missing. I think he's tone deaf. I think he's not culturally integrated into America. I think he is, I don't know if he's a first or second generation, or if he's born in America.
Yeah,
I really don't know his situation.
I think he might be second or something.
But I think he's missing it, because a lot of what American culture is about being broadly talented. It's not just about being a drone of one type. Like, you know, that's not the way our education system has ever been. It's always been more of a broad, you know, based education. It's always been helping students to make connections in the world. And still it's been successful. I think that what he's talking about is the fact that now everything has gone to pot, right? It's not so much the culture. He's saying it's something about our culture. It's not, though. It has to do with the fact that we have, you know, these schools that are failing, and we don't require more. And we're having a situation where we have these families that are broken. No one's making kids even do their homework, let alone, you know, we have this, you know, people who are infiltrating, having them learn more about sex education and about math. And then, as Lady Jen says, you know, we need to bring back knowledge, skills, and abilities and cut out DEI. That's happened as well, to some extent. I think there has been a lot of, you know, I've met students, you know, who have said things to me that they don't know the basics, but they know all the wokeisms. And it's like, I'm not mad at you for knowing the wokeisms, but I'd love it if you could read well too. You know what I mean? And, you know, I would love that. Like, I would love it if you actually knew stuff besides that. And that's the problem. So I think there is something there. But as far as American exceptionalism, American culture, like being cool, that the way that we are, I don't think that has to change for us to be successful. We've been successful. We do need to support people. I wish that what Vivek had said, honestly, let's stop wasting talent in the inner cities. There's a lot of, I think, Black, Latino, and Asian, not everyone Indian comes from money like he seems to have, who need better chances to get to school. You know, President Trump has talked about having vouchers. He seems to like vouchers. You know, instead of kids having to go to their, you know, zone school, or the school they have to go to from their neighborhood because it's the public school near them that's crumbling and falling apart, with a teacher, you know, who's trying to talk to them about pronouns, but not about, you know, presidential policies or anything interesting, or physics. Give those kids, either change the school or give those kids a chance to go to the school uptown where, you know, it has AP classes. You know, think about that movie I think we've talked about before, Fletcher, Stand and Deliver.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love for Vivek to see that movie. Maybe that's what someone should tell him in the comments, because That movie, based on an absolutely true story starring Edward James Olmos, which is a fabulous story, and it's absolutely true, was a real life businessman who went back to, like, I think it might be the high school he went to, or just the high school that was near him.
Was the high school that he went to
teach math. And these were kids came from, they were Chicano children. They were either immigrant children or first generation children. And they were not even on their math level. They were doing remedial math. And this man was shocked. And guess what he did? He got them from the point of not just remedial math to doing high level calculus, and had them pass the advanced placement calculus test, which, if any of you guys have gone to a good school and tried to do that, that is not easy to do. Very hard to do. I've known very smart people who couldn't pass it. And, or maybe at most squeeze out a 3. It's on a scale of 1 to 5.
And
these
what happened to
4s and 5s? And they're from poor, broke, ghetto environments, from barrios. He had to go like grab them out from, like, from stealing cars. Some of them were literally in gangs, and he got them to pass the AP calculus. It didn't have nothing to do with them, but having nerd culture or anything like that. It had to do with someone caring about them and having a teacher with high expectations who has the. I love that David Sir Glenn says it's a great movie. It's a great movie. What were you saying, Fletcher? It's a fantastic. Everybody should watch it.
It is. It's a must see, and the part of what I think Vivek could see is what happened to Mr. Escalante, which was the real life protagonist of that movie, done so wonderfully well by Jensen Almost, is that Senor Escalante, who, like you said, gave up a very high-paying job in the tech industry doing supercomputers to teach these kids. He was ostracized, and basically he quit because of the pressure that he received from the teachers
union. The teachers union
they're saying he was doing too much.
They said he was doing too much. He made them look bad. They said he was putting too much pressure on the kids, which he wasn't, but he did make them work. But he made it fun. They all knew he loved them. That's what they needed to hear. They needed to know that he wasn't in there just for like a paycheck and get all the union benefits. He was there because he said, I want to see you change your lives. And they loved him. And so they didn't mind. They even came in like on a Saturday to practice for the test and everything. And in fact, you guys, I don't want to give away the movie, so you should see it, but I should tell you that what they did was extraordinary. And they did it as long as he was there. And then, like you said, Fletcher, he had to quit. I wish Vivek knew stuff like that, because those kids would be engineers. No one would think a Chicano kid, 15, stealing cars in a gang could actually get a perfect score or an exceptional score on an advanced placement test that privileged kids with fancy parents who went to college, who have tutors don't get. That's what this kid could do. They could all do it. I wish he had said that instead. Like, you know what? We should push kids to go further. But instead, he made it seem like something about American culture is bad. I can see why people reacted that way. Although, to be fair, I kind of get his point.
Yeah. I think you do see his point, and you do see other people's points who got offended by this. At the end of the day, I don't think this is going to sink Vivek, but it is a lot of people did react poorly to that. And it goes to show you that sometimes, you gotta say it in a way that, it's more, you do kind of respect and love America, because it's, this is your demographic. This is the people who wanted to. But I think part of what's going on here is,
but you know
this
what?
Culture.
One last thing about that, Fletcher, is ironic. Vivek is exhibiting the kind of qualities that people don't want for their children, which is to be unable to be able to read the room.
Yeah.
In other words, you're a very smart guy, but you can never be president because you don't have the skills that someone like Trump has. Trump is very bright. I mean, he says that he has a very high IQ. He said that before because he's funny.
Yeah.
And when he says it is not awkward or autistic sounding, it just sounds like a cool guy. He just says like, I have a very high. Remember that time he said that during the election?
Oh yeah.
People say I have a very high IQ. Kamala, she's not that smart. She's just not that smart. And that's a little rude. I mean, I'm sure, but of course, he's trolling. But honestly, he did go to Wharton School. He's not a dumb person. People sometimes say he's dumb. I think because he is so blunt, that's a very New York way of talking. But he is a bright guy, but he's a bright guy that's dated a supermodel, right? That, married supermodels, who gets along with all kinds of people. He can sit down with, the North Korean supreme leader, hang out with, Macron and talk to Trudeau. He can talk to people like off the street. If you've seen pictures of him or videos of him talking to like, workers, that pizza, the McDonald's thing, he really is like that. I mean, there's people who, it didn't come out that much in this campaign, but in the last campaign, there was a Black woman who was like, you understand that he is so nice. Like he would literally talk to me. He wasn't running for president. He would talk to me. And when he found out that I had trouble paying my rent, he gave her a room at Trump Tower, like paid for. Like he did stuff like that. What I'm saying that not to make him into some kind of hero, because I'm not one of those who idolizes Trump or anything like that. But he is a kind of all-around guy, right? You can see him going to a game. You can see him. He knows how to read the room to some extent. Obviously, he knows what to do. But guess what? Vivek doesn't. I mean, that was such an awkwardly long statement that didn't really say what he was trying to say, which I think people could get behind, because he is a little bit too much of a nerd. Honestly, he doesn't know how to talk to people.
No, I agree.
And we don't think that's a good trait, Vivek. We want people who actually go to parties, who know how to talk to people. They can still be engineers. They can have it all.
Right.
Yeah, like one of my best friends in college is an engineer to this day. She's a very smart lady, and she's an engineer. And she also was an amazing dancer. We closed many dance places together. Don't want to tell you that, Fletcher. we closed many clubs together.
I don't forget that I know your family. But yeah. But we do feel a little bit of some of this, kind of back whiplash in society, because this is, what happened terribly. We pay for the border soul, the poor lady who was burned alive, by this horrible guy in NYC subway. But people are starting to call this the penny effect. And it's a little bit interesting, because you're basically saying people would have helped this young lady had it not been for the fact that the New York DA decided that he was going to persecute people who help if it goes the wrong way, right? If something happens to the perpetrator, now you're going to maybe face criminal charges, even though you could be trying to stop, a deletion from happening.
This is one of the most horrible things I have heard lately, and I mean, we keep hearing horrible things, especially by those who shouldn't be here in the first place. And this is another one this would never have happened if he just wasn't here, because he wasn't supposed to be here. He's not here legally. And he lit this woman on fire, and people didn't do anything, as you said, Fletcher. And they say it might be because they are afraid of prosecution. I think you're right. I mean, it's a horrifying thing. And so you have a combination of two things. You have the fact that someone who shouldn't even be here, and then you have someone who should never have been prosecuted, harshly like that. So people are afraid to be helpful. It's like you're trying to eradicate compassion in other people by punishing it. I mean, it's possible Penny went too far. I don't know. But why would you, in the moment, he's trying to help. Why would you punish that? It's like hindsight's 2020. In the moment, he's trying to stop the threat. And as you pointed out, I think, Fletcher, before, the guy wasn't even dead, after. It was later. So it's just really one of those things that a prosecutor has discretion. They should have been like, you know what, just, let you go home, maybe be more careful next time and leave it at that. But instead, it seems like it became a whole political thing. So yeah, this is horrible. I mean, prayers for this woman's soul. I pray that, God welcomes her open arms to heaven. That's a horrible way to go. Any kind of crime, of course, is a horrible way to go. Any natural disaster, any of those things are just, are maybe a natural disaster is more natural, but this is horrible. It's unnatural. She's immolated, in public. And this person watched it. He's a complete psychopath.
No, completely. I mean, he had this smirk on his face. I mean, I don't really want to show it. But it's, it's one of these things where you kind of think to yourself, this is so inhumane. This is so ridiculous. But the fact that it's happening in New York, the greatest American city of people, have ever seen, basically it was the capital of commerce for all the world. To happen in New York, and with the governor going out there saying, "Oh, we're going to put the National Guard out there for taking selfies in the place." I mean, it was so.
And talk about tone deaf. She had just that same day said, "Oh, the subways are so safe now," and it's not safe. You know what kind of is a pet peeve of mine is people saying, "Oh, he had no criminal history before that." Yes, he does. He's not here legally. He already broke a law to get here.
Isn't that one thing, right? And my understanding is
stop saying that.
Yeah, and my understanding was that he also came in. He was deported under Trump, supposedly, from what I understand, and came back because obviously,
which is an even bigger offense.
Right?
You got deported, told go home. We don't want you here. You don't have any basis to be here, and you still said, "I don't care. Your country's laws mean nothing to me." Can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine.
If we're like, you know what, Uzbekistan, I don't care what your laws are. I want to come. You told me to leave. I'm coming. Are you serious? And nobody would be sympathetic if whatever they did to, if they prosecuted me because I didn't obey their law. How come it's okay here?
Do you know how many? I mean, it's you can get years in jail if you illegally cross into Mexico. And it's just insane. But I guess part of the also was given an outrage is that we had people
just taping. For the record.
Yeah, but we had people videotaping this thing.
Yeah,
instead of helping, you're taking a video. I mean,
I wish Vivek got involved with that. That's the culture we need to shift.
That's the culture we need to shift.
I don't think we have to worry about people going to parties and hanging out, not being nerds. They can still, go to MIT. A lot of cool people are there. Actually, what just made me think of another girl I know from MIT. Real cool girl, fun to party with. Not party, she liked to go out. But this kind of thing, the kind of way that you can, not jump to help people, that is something that has to change.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people like we see here, the Guardian Angels were people say a vigilante group in New York. And they're saying, people are reluctant to get involved in subway crime, because it would happen to Mr. Penny. And whether you agree with what happened in Mr. Kenny's case or not, we are talking about somebody who basically were stacking people. And it was unfortunate. But, it's the, play around and find out kind of games.
I mean, I'm trying to understand the other side, Fletcher. I know my dad, speaking to him about this, he really does not like the fact that Jordan Penny got acquitted. And, is that his name? Did I say it right? Or is it Danny Penny? I'm sorry. I cannot remember.
Yeah, Daniel Penny.
Daniel Penny, not Jordan. It's Jordan Neely is the victim, right?
Jordan Neely is the victim, yes.
My dad doesn't like it. The perpetrator. My dad doesn't like it. He thinks that, it was racial. I mean, I'm respectful to that point of view. I just think though, in the moment, that's something that you don't second guess that when someone's doing it, not being the person who starts it. I don't think you should second guess that. At the time, that's what it was. He was menacing people. And, it is what it is. Maybe you might go too far. Maybe you might hold a little too long. But what?
As you can see, other people also are holding him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're trying to stop the threat.
You're trying to stop the threat. There's a threat.
You gotta give some leeway to the person in the self-defense situation, and you do have the right to have self-defense of others. I understand. So, I don't think you would. I think that you shouldn't second guess that, but I understand where my dad's coming from. He thinks it's the optics look bad. The optics look bad.
The optics looks bad. But right. Yeah, so as Dame Glenn says, his birth country is lost don't mean anything to him either. Yeah, he would. I mean, bad things would happen in Guatemala if he did what he did, and that would happen in his neighborhood before.
And we're referring to, of course, the nasty guy who put the lady on fire.
Right.
Not so much this one. Yeah.
No. So it's not like that. But so what happens? My understanding of Good Samaritan law is that if you help somebody, you should be. If you're trying to help, you should be exempt from that. But in this case, I guess what people were kind of saying is that they don't want to get involved, in apprehending, because it's a little bit different with apprehending.
I think the way it works is that it's supposed to be that you can't sue somebody who came to help. That's what people were doing. Like, you try to help someone get out of a car that's burning, and then they break their leg, and then they sue you for breaking their leg, even though, look, I helped save your life. But I think when it comes to the criminal cases, they don't really apply it. And lawyers happen. So there is that, like Sir Glenn said. So there's this guy's mug. He actually looks more, remorseful there. The other pictures I've seen of him looks like he's just.
This one, I feel like he's just out of it. Obviously, he's in some kind of intoxication or whatever it is. The main thing is that if he wasn't here, it's always funny because I do have a lot of friends who are in the other end of the whole immigration debate. And my issue with them is this, because even if one American is harmed by somebody who shouldn't be here, that's already the you know what I mean? That's already the argument. That's
already too many.
So that's the way I feel. I mean, in a sense, being an immigrant myself, that's, and it's funny thing is because we don't have all these blah things in the countries. Like Guatemala has a very strict immigration policy. So I don't see nobody complaining about theirs, but I think it's horrible. And I do hope that more people would be better citizens about these things. But
I think it's ironic that his shirt is in red, like for flames or blood, and says New York, because he's the face of New York right now.
He is the face of New York. It's sadly that he's the face of New York, and it's sad that all of this happened. And like I said, we pray for the lady, because that was just unfortunate, for her to go like this.
So horrifying. And you know what? Of course, most horrifying for her, but also terrible for her family, but also for those who watched it, because those who were filming and all that, that's terrible for your soul. That's terrible that you could do that. And then some who weren't watching, maybe who were just horrified, who didn't want to get involved, they're going to have nightmares about that. They're probably going to have, they're not going to you don't just get over that. That's a horrible thing.
No, yeah, completely, because you're sitting there and you're watching this happen and you're not doing anything. It's horrible. But, there's all kinds of bad stuff that happen, and it's crazy. Lady Jen says the racial bias regarding Jordan seems to come from big medicine more than anything. Treated him like he was nothing at this point. He was just broken record to them. It's really sad. I do agree, because we do have to the big pharma effect on homelessness and on psychotic attacks. It's how they say you don't hate the media enough. Maybe sometimes we don't hate big pharma enough. It's just sad.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was going to say just what Lady Jen said. It's true that he was well known as being in a deep kind of pharmaceutical crisis already, mental health issues, and literally, nobody took action. And of course, it helps Big Pharma not to have anyone point out that a lot of stuff they do doesn't help or makes things worse. So of course, it helps them to make it about this other narrative when in fact it's somebody who was really out of control, wilding out, probably because the drugs weren't working.
No, it's just, yeah, it's just
or the
horrible.
combination of, prescribed and illicit ones, illegal ones together.
That's always the case. Yeah, because self-medication is the thing. But Sir Gunn says a friend of mine passed out into the campfire at a party. The smells. Yeah, I have heard about that. That it is a really, it's a very particular smell, and that's like, man,
that's terrible. Really?
Yeah,
oh
that's
man,
that's just stuff. So, but we keep.
Poor lady.
It's not as the same terrible thing, but weird things are happening in the weird things are happening section. So this is coming from LifeSite or what should we call it? Our charity for today.
Yes, for this month. You always say today. This month.
Well, that's today in the month.
We're starting today. Yes. Until next month.
That's right. Only Waltz, Minnesota's satanic holiday displayed allowed at state capitol building. We did talk about this before, but we do have a take on it. But let's go on to read this. So I guess that failed presidential candidate Tim Walz is defending a satanic holiday display. Satanic holiday display. It has been installed in the Minnesota State Capitol building in St. Paul. A satanic nonprofit group called Cerberus Ministries has granted a permit by the Minnesota Department of Administration to install its display from December 13 through December 27. The department said it could not deny the group's request because it was protected speech under the First Amendment. Now, this is, we're going to talk about this and we're just going to read a little bit more on this. The display features an upside-down pentagram of a phoenix and a prayer card with the words, "You are your own God," printed on it. Minnesota Satanists praised the installation in Facebook post this week. Thanks to all the hard work from our congregation, a special cast, from helping us set up Minnesota Satanists' first holiday display in the state capitol in St. Paul. Hail religious plurality, hail Satan, said the group.
Well, let's not repeat that.
Well,
Jesus is Lord. I know you're just reading it, but Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord on this channel and in the world.
So
hail
this is
King Jesus.
Display. Amen. Yes. As long as I got King Jesus, as long as I got King Jesus, don't need nobody else. So Governor Wolf's office was asked for comment about the display by several media outlets. The governor does not agree with the display and did not approve it. But the First Amendment means that he does not police speech in the state capitol. We're going to touch on that. Hold on. Wait a minute. But the First Amendment means that it does not police the speech in the state capitol. That's true whether it's religious display or political protest or Minnesotan advocating for policy. His office said in a statement, the group display has not gone unnoticed by Minnesotans. Alpha News journalists was at the Capitol reporting more than 100 peaceful protests who gather around actual peaceful protests, not the peaceful protests, other ones. So I guess they're singing "Oh Come All You Faithful" in front of it, and they had a bit of a prayer meeting on this, and was a little bit like a counter protest, I guess, and stuff. And they, came to pray because it is a mockery on Christmas. And I guess, do you want to go first on this, or
I think the first thing I would say is this is nonsense, because we already have a history and tradition of Christianity in this country, of Judaism in this country, and even more lately, Islam and other ones. We don't have to let every fringe group, there could be a group that worships goats, or one that says, we're for, I don't know, running naked through the square. We don't have to have every group have to have their thing up at the city hall. Okay. Secondly, this is not a true group, but even if it was, where does it have it that your day is this holiday? What holiday are you celebrating? Because there are holidays that Jews have at this time of year, Hanukkah. There's holidays. What's the holiday that the satanic group is celebrating right now? No, what you're celebrating is in your face, Christian, and that's not legitimate. Okay, that's not legitimate. That's not freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is supposed to be reasonable. You can have time, place, manner restrictions on it, right? Not everybody has to speak at the same time or in the same way. They don't have to have a display in the city hall to have their, if they want to hand out flyers outside, if they want to say we're against it, nobody's saying you can't have free speech, but to have a symbol to evil, which their religion is, so-called religion is for, is insane. You don't have to have that. There's nothing that says that. Like Sir Glenn, the flying spaghetti monster religion. No, we don't have to have a bowl of spaghetti in the freaking city hall. Let's have some common sense. Are we so open-minded that our brains have fallen out? No. That's ridiculous. You don't have to do that. That's not what we're standing for. I don't think that's violating anyone's rights. You don't have to be up there letting them have a satanic display. And all of y'all praying in front of it, claiming, y'all should be ashamed, because I would not be in front of that thing. I know they're not saying they endorse it. These are the Christians, but you Christians got to get some common sense. Okay. And be like, we're not going to do it in front of this display.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So Cerberus, it's like Hades. It's Cerberus, I believe, is the three-headed dog that guards Hades in mythology.
They're just trolling.
They are, yeah.
It's not even a real religion.
It's not even a real. That's the problem. Jesus is Lord. This, I don't know what, this is trolling. This is somebody who basically says, look at what I'm going to do. And it's completely in bad faith. And like we said before in this, all this whole thing with religious freedom, this is not religious freedom. This is not free speech. Because if you would have an overly religious thing, they would say you can't have that, a separation of church and state, right? Put something about Jesus in there and forget it. Forget it. It's not going to happen. So, it's like, come on.
I mean, this is not freedom of speech anyway, because we're not talking about freedom of speech. What we're talking about is the religion. What we're talking about is this basic civics. Okay, everybody who took high school civics, give us a thumbs up right now. Smash that like button, because freedom of speech has to do with speech. If you want to speak out against this thing, you can. It doesn't mean you get to put up a statue. If I want to go down to my city hall and say I want to protest the tax, I don't get to go inside the building and build a statue. That's not freedom of speech. So what you're talking about is them saying freedom of religion, and freedom of religion is important, but doesn't mean you also get to build your satanic display during the time the Christians celebrate their holiday. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. If they want to say there's some, I don't think you should do it at all. I don't think they're true religion. I don't think it's in good faith. I don't think the state has to endorse evil. There might be a religion that says, I'm trying to be delicate here, but, relationships between adults and children. And there are groups like this, and they might call themselves a religion. That doesn't mean you have to endorse it. I'm sorry. There could be religions that believe in murder or cannibalism. That doesn't mean we have to endorse it by the state and let them have the same time in the open, square of ideas. We do not. Okay, not at the government building. Let them, do it in private, as long as they don't violate any laws. Okay, that's all there is to that. I mean, really, are they going to now let people smoke ganja in the city hall because, it's their holiday and they smoke ganja? Of course, now ganja smoking is okay, but can you want them to go and have marijuana all through the halls of the city hall? Because, we're Rastafarians. That's what we believe in. Or Native American peace pipe. Let's all smoke our peace pipe. Yeah, come on. No, you don't have to accept. That's not what the founding fathers were talking about, was government staying out of establishing a religion that says everyone has to be this religion. And they're trying to also allow people to be free. And they wanted to be free for Christianity. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, other groups are fine. We tolerate it, but there's no state religion, but Christianity needs to not be impeded. That's what it appears to be from all the founding documents. Okay, from the context of the Constitution. You don't have to let the satanic display in the city hall. That's just dumb.
That's just, yeah, it's crazy. So yeah. Uh, they're just doing it for blasphemy and atheist points for their friends. Yeah, it's completely no. It's they're doing it to mock, and
yeah, and they're right, and they
that's not
want
free
to.
speech. You know? Yeah.
Nor is it freedom of religion.
No, it's a freedom. Ethiopian Coptic would like to talk. Yeah. Famous guys.
I like those those Ethiopian Coptic people. That's pretty cool. I like them. I met one of them before. She was real cool.
No, it goes a little bit. You know, it's one of those things where you're like going, yeah, that's not a thing production, but you know,
and it just shows that Waltz doesn't have common sense, man. I mean, come on.
No, completely.
Why would you be defending it? You should just stay out of it.
You just should stay out of it. But we are talking about things that should stay out of. Looks like the Biden administration is pressuring Africa, a country, to expand on deletion by withholding aid. So remember all the millions, billions that he was going to give to Africa? Well, I guess it has a caveat. According to this, the Biden administration allegedly attempted to use foreign aid to pressure African nation of Sierra Leone to discriminalize on deletion of its population on its final weeks, or as forego the $480 million in foreign aid made for affordable electricity. Now, let me understand this, if you know, in a way that I can understand it as a 5-year-old. You want to help this African nation of Sierra Leone, which is just fine. I don't know why, since they're a French colony, France is not doing it, but that's, you know, excusez-moi on that one. But you got $480 million in foreign aid for, get this, to help them with affordable electricity. Meaning you're going to make plants, obviously you're going to help out because there's no electricity in the nation, right? You want to help them out with that. That seems like a valid point. But explain to me this. Why are you then saying if you don't delete part of your population, we can't give you this money?
Yeah.
How
exactly.
is that? How's that a thing? How does the two? I mean, I guess I'm stupid. How is deleting or helping or asking them, hey, promote deletion of your people? If you don't do that, we're not going to help you with electricity, because that's what we told the American people we're going to help with. Because the earmark for this is electricity, but we got a little caveat. We want you to 86 some of your kids. How?
Yeah. I mean, that's a Faustian bargain. I mean, if I ever thought of one, talk about how cynical. You're saying we could help you, but we want you to delete your unborn. We want you not to be strong. We don't want you to have people, we don't want you to keep procreating. We don't want you to, I mean, how this is not offensive to Africa, I don't know. I mean, how could that not be considered deeply, deeply bullying of another country? To say, we're happy to help you, but you got to take some people out. That's what you have to do. Yeah. That's horrible. I mean, the fact that I feel it's tragic from my country. I'm embarrassed. That's deeply shameful from our country to do something like that. There's a reckoning for that.
No,
that's a horrible thing to do. Pressuring, especially African countries that have their own issues. There's no shortage of space in Africa. It's not a problem with too many people.
Yeah.
It's a problem of infrastructure, a problem of know-how, it's a problem of corruption, it's a problem of all kinds of exploitation of them that's happened for centuries, and many other problems. But the problem is not that there's too many of them. It's not. It's a lot of space there.
That's a lie sold. Yeah, that's a lie sold. We've been to Africa, and let me tell you, there's a lot of unused space. Well, we went to several countries in Africa. It's not one of those like, oh, we've been to Africa and you went to a little country. We went to a few countries, and it's big, and
they actually
there
need
is a lack of people.
A lot of people are needed to do all kinds of things. They already have a lot of people who are dying because of disease and illness. It's not a question of not having their most precious resource, their children, being allowed to be born. That's so oh my gosh, it's
This
Manichaean,
is another evil thing. Yeah,
it's just stupid and evil.
Yeah.
And that's just I don't know what I mean. It's deeply offensive. We don't want more of you. So we could help you. I mean, it's not even a question of they're giving food or something, like something where it would make sense. Like you said, Fletcher, okay, we want you to have fewer mouths to feed. So, take some of these people out. This is electricity. Are you saying that more people means that it's going to be not workable? I mean, most times in these countries, the electricity is shared. Like there's one home with a lot of people in it. They're sharing I don't understand why you have to have fewer people for the electricity to work.
Well, the part that I don't understand
doesn't make sense.
I mean, check this out. So
either way, it's immoral.
Yeah, you're basically saying we told the American people that we were going to give you this money. The American people agree, although a lot of people didn't agree with this, or the representative agreed to give you this money. But you said, hold up, wait a minute. Why don't you do something that we like, right? And that we want to promote. I mean, imagine this. Let's say they weren't doing promoted deletion of children. Let's say they were promoting Christ as Lord. Now imagine the outrage from everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Look, not only that, let's be clear. Sierra Leone already has deletion services. This Biden administration is saying you've got to make deletion legal into the final weeks. They want to decriminalize deletion in its final weeks. That's what I got from it.
It's just...
So, I mean, they shouldn't be interfering like that. If you're giving humanitarian aid, you shouldn't be trying to attack, good cultural values that the people have. If they, weren't they doing this too, Fletcher, with Uganda, saying you've got to decriminalize homosexuality?
Oh, yeah,
for us to give you money, and they're like in our
culture,
culture,
said no.
It's evil.
Yeah, no.
All right, Sir Glenn. I think we're gonna go off to bed soon too. It's getting late.
I know. Have a good.
Thank
you
for
night.
joining us. This is gone. We've gone on a bit, Fletcher. We probably should wrap it up.
We've gone on a bit. But
it's getting late.
Jen says, "What did Hunter do now? What are we holding out aid for another country?" That is true. We did have we did. We got us so much, but all right. So what did we? Do you want to do the fun stuff then and go?
Yeah, we'll probably call it a night too. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna work some stuff right now. And hold on one second. And okay, so we have this. I thought it was super cute, and I'm gonna share it in a second. So this is a doggy. And, I will share this. Hold on 1 second. So this is a little smart little doggy with little dominoes. Remember this little craze of the little dominoes, where people would get like the little dominoes effect or something like that? Well, look at this one. It presses the little dominoes here, and she goes along with it. Look at the reaction about every little thing what it does. But then, oh no, what happened? Oh, but it's not. There you go. There you go. How smart is this? And then
my gosh!
Right?
That is so cute.
It's so cute. It's like, oh no, like keep it going, keep the party going.
That is so cute. Oh my goodness. That is like cute overload. That is too cute. Oh my goodness.
Aren't they super smart?
Totally. So cute. They seem to be enjoying it too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's super cute.
Oh my goodness. I mean, how long does it take to set something like that up?
Oh, it's got to be hours and hours. But the fact that they're just following along with it, you know?
They really are following it. It's so interesting to them. Oh, this person is like making a better mousetrap. That is amazing.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Oh, good night, Lady Jen. Hugs to Queen Ursula, King Fletcher, and Sir David. Thank you. Nighty night all.
Thank you so much.
So
yes,
cute.
They are super cute, aren't they? They're super cute.
That's
and
adorable.
Another funny thing that you saw this. So this is a winter coat display in the NYC. This super puff, and they're doing the little Trump dance here. And everybody, this is kind of like funny because you have this mannequins out here, and they're they're gonna be happy. Isn't that hilarious?
Isn't that awesome? And this is New York. You see the tide is a-changing. I mean, New York City is not known to be for, the right. And they're out here dancing and having the song of the mannequins doing, you can just hear the song playing in the background, YMCA and President Trump singing, dancing to that dance. So that's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty funny.
And this is something people are saying, wrestling is not real. Well, you explained this. Here we have a match between Jesus. So Jesus and Santa Claus are out
I'm
here.
Leaving now. I'm out.
Everybody.
That was ill-advised, Fletcher. Awesome. All right, I'll see you later. You can wrap this up. I'm out. I'm out with the wrestling Jesus, Fletcher.
What?
Oh gosh. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Are you saying a wrestling?
Please
Jesus
support LifeSite News. We'll post a link. That went too far for me. Yeah, that's too much. All right, ciao.
That is too far. All right. Well, I have yes, support LifeSite. We have right here. So share it with you guys. If you guys want to share this out, LifeSite is a site that supports life, and also it's a great little charity. If you guys want to check it out, it is a magazine that does support, the unborn, and also supports, kind of our values. And we do want to have you, check them out and give them a follow, a chance to, to be helped out, and would be greatly appreciated. And we thank you all for joining us on today. We want to wish you still a Merry Christmas as we're still in the Christmas time, and have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Ave Maria, Maria, rogai por nós, Santa Mãe de Deus.